What's happening, Mr. Shane?
What's up, guys? What's up, Alexi?
Not much, just hanging out. I was over in a space with Logan, and then Tupacabra literally started one like 30 seconds ago.
Hey.
Wasn't sure where to go, but I figured I'd join in because you're having the after party here.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Yeah, just a little bit of an after party. Toop started one just a second ago, too? Oh, shit.
He had one for 9:15, so yeah, just a few minutes ago. So there will be some people over there, but, you know, we're also here.
It is.
You did awesome, Shane.
I was only a little bit nervous.
No, it was excellent. I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you. What's up, Joe?
Yes.
It was a good time. I just slightly couldn't tell, but I gotta still finish my studio stuff up. And
who did you have in the interview? I wasn't able to catch it.
No, it was just us three this time. We're still booking people so we've got people lined up. This was just on Mike Escape. He had us on his podcast. Ours will start when I get back from Wounded Warrior in a couple weeks, man. I got to get to Boston first and dump some of this bullshit out of my head.
When you say us three, you mean you, Mind Escape, and then I guess who would be the third?
Toby. He works at the Roswell Daily Record.
Very cool. Right on.
How goes it, Joe?
What's up, Shane? How you doing?
Not too bad, man. Just trying not to make myself look like a fool on a YouTube video.
What's up, Joe? How you been?
You
How you doing? I don't think we've ever actually met.
I don't think so. I think only on Twitter. Also, and do you use a first name at all online?
Alex. I mean, people that know me as Alexei. Like Alexei Novitsky is like my real name.
Now that you're here, Joe, let me ask you a quick question. What do you think they're reclassifying this for?
You there?
I mean, why do you think they're going backwards?
It's like, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you, Joe.
My bad.
It seems like I'm having issues. It's the Navy it's not the whole Department of Defense, right? The Navy that Greenwald pulled up that talked about reclassifying. It wasn't a DoD wide, or was it?
No, it was the Navy. That's the weird part. It's one branch is saying no, and the others, you got the other one saying that nothing's changed, and you got Travis Taylor saying, "Well, I wrote the classification. This is all wrong."
Yeah, and he's like, and he did say, "Did that?" And I'm like, "No, it's a good point." So maybe the overall classifications haven't changed, but I know stuff's going on behind the scenes, and it's like when I was in Vegas watching Knapp and Corbell, and Corbell said there was some. What was the word he used that I tweeted out? It was very basic what he said. He said, of course, I'm not going to be able to think of it right now. Not interference, but he said we were going to go on Coast to Coast tonight, and then something happened where we couldn't do it. So yeah, stuff is going on. I mean, I've heard from other folks just basically the same story we've heard, spoken about it, that don't want this out, and they're desperate to keep it from coming out. It's going to be up to how much Congress wants to push, and if they get rejected, I don't know if it goes to court like it did back in, I think it was in Area 50, and basically the judge said, "Sorry, you cannot sue because this is it's classified as security, case dismissed." So is that what's going to happen? And if that does happen, what does Congress do? What's the next step? And that's why I said, if we get totally shut out, would Lou encourage people to blow the whistle? And I don't think he would encourage it. I just don't think he would up a big fight. If we get to a standstill and nothing's happening. But I don't know who's going to do it. Who's going to be that person that says, screw it, I'm coming forward. I'm going to tell you guys everything I know. You want to put me in jail for talking about non-human technology I worked on? Okay, go ahead. I mean, that's what Greer did. None of those people lost their pensions. I mean, it wasn't as good as somebody working in a program like that, but, they talked about stuff they weren't supposed to talk about, so nothing happened to them.
You know what? I saw that where he was talking about this is the first time that he got interference ran where he couldn't do something. I was going to also ask you, since you're here, did you see, there was a video, they were talking about Lazar, and they were talking about different things on the base, but then there was a different person who likes rocks. I remember that because I remember the comment, fucking nerd, from Jeremy, where saw similar, where there was nothing there, and then basically the ground opened up.
You're talking about the guy who went hiking through that whole area, and he saw what looked, and I forget the guy's name, Jerry something, and he saw what looked like, a light, and then the light slowly going away as if there was a garage door or a hangar door closing. But you listen exactly what he said. He's like, yeah, I'm not really sure what I saw, so who knows what he saw out there. It's interesting, it's intriguing, but it doesn't prove anything. I'm still not sold on Lazar. I love the work of Corbell. I love the work of Knapp. I also have friends with Eric Davis who thinks Lazar is full of it. So I don't know.
Hey, Joe, you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out a lot.
Just need a little bit, Joe.
No, not really.
I'll come back.
They're choppy. You're very choppy.
No, give me a second.
Very cool. I have a few questions for you too when you get back in here, man. He's one of the only people that's talking about processional cycles that I've seen. He's like one of the very few. It's like, I think
you're on point, man. Do you want to talk about processional cycles?
I want to get Joe in here to talk about it. It seems like he might know something more. But like as far as processional cycles, that's more related to how our bodies actually perceive the fields of consciousness versus the actual physical reality that we experience. So there's a difference.
Hey, Lexi, why don't you ask him? He's in here now.
I'm in here now. I am very basic on, and I should be better. I didn't have my Wi-Fi on. Go ahead. I'm real basic on cycles and procession and all that stuff, but go ahead.
No, I mean, I only have my understanding of it, and it just seems like you're one of the very few people that seems to be like asking about that. And to me, in my opinion, that seems to be what's happening. Like that's the key, is the processional cycles of conscious experience.
Yeah, I think it should be spoken about, whether on a consciousness level, which I'm trying to think his name, Walter Cruttenden has a lot of work on that in the Yugas, which is basically similar. And I think instead of 26,000 or 25,920 years, I think his cycle's 24,000 years. I'm not really sure. And then you have cataclysmic cycles. You talk about Mark Carlotto, who did a lot of work on the Mars anomalies. And he's like, his work is amazing on pole shifts, on physical pole shifts, not magnetic, where the Earth would turn, and if that happened, it would be devastating to the people on this planet. Some places you'd be able to survive, but he's traced it back to 4 different pole shifts in the last 100,000 years. I don't know if we're in line for anything right for a long time, but it's really interesting. It shows how some of these megalithic structures are not
like what the crustal displacement theory, like
Charles Hapgood is where he got his theory from, and crustal displacement. I think John White is the guy who wrote a book in 2000 called Pole Shift, and then it changed the ending. And Richard Hoagland was coming up with this gigantic conspiracy, which was, all that stuff was really entertaining, but it was probably wrong. But who the hell knows? But Carlotto says a lot of these megalithic structures, they don't line up to true north, south, east, and west unless you adjust for a certain time where they did, and that's where he thinks the pole shift happened. At that point, he thinks the pyramids were built after the last pole shift. The first one, as far as 100,000 years, there's a pyramid in Bosnia, which he thinks the pole shift happened 100,000 years ago. So that was built right after that, and they built it with large structures because that would withstand some sort of a mega cataclysm like that. Not totally, but if that's true, 100,000 years ago, the Bosnia pyramid was built. I mean, it's still there. So a lot of these.
Yeah, that's I would say to look for people to look at. Like I'm not Joe, because I think that people should look into this stuff, but I disagree with a lot of these assertions that this stuff's either built by aliens or way older. Only because that Sam Osmanovich guy that is excavating the Bosnian pyramids. I mean, you could talk to Daniel, who's the other guy we normally have in here that talks about this kind of stuff, but there's a lot of like weird things with that, and also like it's not there's no a lot of it's natural, can be explained naturally. It's not like the Great Pyramid where like there's clearly blocks, there's clearly things there. Like the Bosnian pyramid, there's some things that kind of look like it could be, but we don't know. And then it's
What are you talking about specifically? Because I haven't mentioned as far as structure. I'm just specifically mentioning alignments and building it so there's something there after the pole shift. I'm not talking about aliens. I'm not talking about anything. If anything,
no, I'm saying the Bosnian pyramid isn't really a pyramid. It's a natural formation.
Right. Well, what if they took a natural formation and made it into a pyramid?
That could, yeah, that.
But I don't know. Yeah, I don't really know about the details.
There is evidence of ancient civilizations like terracing formations like that to kind of create things out of it. That there is examples of that.
I mean, maybe everything we're dealing with is an ancient civilization that's so far advanced. I don't know. They want to make themselves look like aliens. I don't know. That's a theory that people have thrown out. I don't know. I mean, there's no evidence as far as I know. You listen to Eric Davis say it's nothing outside of the orbit of the moon. If that evidence does exist, he hasn't seen it. It would be in a legacy program. So I don't know.
It's interesting that you guys say that maybe the first pyramids were actually just terraced. And then maybe they realized by terracing this, well, hey, maybe we should just put one of these naturally terraced structures. We should recreate it.
There's a good example of that. It's called the island of Daskaleo. It's off the island of Keros, which is in the Cyclades. It's a island. And during the Bronze Age, like right around the same time that they built the Great Pyramid, they were terracing this island formation, and they kind of made it look like a pyramid. You can go check it out. But there is other examples of that. Actually, what's that? There's an island, and not the Falkland Islands. There's somewhere I'll have to think about it. Somewhere
I mean, it's probably easier to terrace a mountain into a pyramid than to build one from scratch in some cases.
Yeah.
In some cases. Just let me put that out there. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, guys, let's get over to Logan. He's had his hand up for a minute. Go ahead, Logan. You got a question for Joe, or what's up, buddy?
And we should, if you
sorry about that.
Retweet.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you, bud.
I mean, other than sounding like a vampire, go ahead.
Yeah, there's not much I can do about that one. Damn it! But the problem is I forget what I was talking about now. Oh no, I know now. Okay. Sorry to change topic from what we were talking about earlier now, but yeah, if we need whistleblowers to come out, then maybe it isn't enough that they have some kind of way of blowing a whistle. Maybe they need a little support and motivation and encouragement too. I think maybe we should maybe just come together a little bit more. I don't know. I was telling Joe this the other day, or I don't know. I commented it on his thread, I guess, that whatever he was posting about was right. We should focus more together as a community, right? Like what Danny Sheehan was saying, kind of less tearing each other down, because we all have the same goal pretty much, right? Let's just get at it.
I wish we did all have the same goal. I mean, the PSYOP people, I just don't know. I just don't want to deal with it anymore. I mean, if they want to open their minds, and I'm open. I've left my mind open a little percentage of PSYOP, but and I'm very, very open to a lot of this being human tech, but base notions, they think everybody involved between Knapp, Corbell, Eric Davis, Kit Green, Putoff, they're all nefarious. Brandon Fugel, it's tiring to me. It's boring to me. It's you want to come together, fine. Let's figure out what the phenomenon is. Let's figure out cycles, cataclysms, all that stuff. I'm open, but the other stuff, it's just round and round, and I do engage in it, and I shouldn't, even today. But it's hard for me to stay away, but I need to do it. I blocked people today because I have no willpower to avoid that, so that's why I blocked more people today. I'm just leave it alone.
What about this idea, Joe, that why should we care at all? Why shouldn't we let them push this forward? Because if anything, they're going to get more funding for these things. So whether these people think there's nothing there or there's something there or whatever, at very least directing more money towards that cause to look for life in general should be what we're all here for, right? I don't understand the pushback of that in general. Who cares if they're not doing it the way you want it? We're getting the money towards there to look for these things.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, money is such a huge issue. I mean, I heard Travis Taylor talk about how he's doing now what they did in the government. They're doing privately for Radiance Technologies, or if that's the name of the company. So, is it another OSAP type program? I don't know. But yeah, the problem is I don't know what they're against. I mean, I've heard one theory that really what Lula's trying to do, Elizondo and the other folks are trying to do is get the black technology out. They're using UFOs as a cover. All right, fine. We still need to do whatever we're doing, so let's keep doing what we're doing. I don't understand the evil nature they think everybody involved is. I mean, today I tweeted out about Erica Lukes and what I had heard about her recording a conversation. She thinks all these people, she's one of them. She's like, Eric Davis, bad guy. She did great interviews with Eric back in 2019. And then the flip, now he's bad. Kit Green, bad. Bigelow, bad. Putoff, bad. It's tiring. I don't know what else to say.
But again, if like who do they think is going to uncover this stuff?
I don't know.
You need people with power and money. It's like, and this is not, I'm trying not to take it here, but like look at like what happened with cannabis. Look at what's happening with psychedelics. You need smart people with money to get behind these things, to push the agenda along so that they can be studied, they can be legalized, they can be whatever. So if we want information out there, you have to suspect that given the nature of our economy, given the nature and structure of our government, that it's got to be done in a certain way, or else it's not going to happen. Like these people think it's going to happen in a specific way. They want it to go down, and I think that if they're waiting for that, they're going to be waiting until they die.
Maybe a lot of them just don't think there's anything there. I think with Erica, she thinks it's all fictitious. Skinwalker, the entire story is fictitious. As far as everybody else, I don't know what they think. Like somebody like Mark Carrion would think it's all human technology, but if that's the case, don't you want to get to that technology? Like you were saying, we can still not agree on what it is, but still have the same goal in trying to push this out to the public. It's the same thing, it's just because we disagree on that, but I don't know. It's just like, I don't know what else to say about that.
Especially like because I thought we had the same goal, but I think you're right. Actually, like their thing is that until they can get these specific people out of the way, we're not going to get to the truth because they're in the way of it, right?
I think one of the things too is like advanced energy sources, right? So they're, and it's a very woo term, but free energy, right? That's related to anti-gravity. That's related to UAP. I think that the people that own the oil industries don't want this information being out. I think there's other infrastructures that are trying to prevent it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and the whole scary cover. Who the hell knows? I mean, you got to keep that in mind. Kit Green said, I don't know if he got it directly from somebody in the government, but he said they would come up with these really scary stories about reptilians eating your babies. So when the real story came out and it only, quote unquote, only turned out to be ET craft, and we have a couple of their craft, then the masses would say, oh, it's not reptilians eating our babies. This regular story, the truth, is so much easier to take. Is that what's going on? I don't know. But it's something we should at least consider.
Hey, real quick, Joe, before we go on. Guys, up in the nest, I posted Joe's website. If you're not using it as a resource, you're batshit crazy. I'm telling you, some of the best interviews, all kinds of stuff there. He transcribes, it all goes there. And get to his Patreon, and you should probably donate because he puts a lot of time into this stuff. And guys, we're going to get to Andrew next. But if you see me do a little wave emoji at you, that's just kind of, hey, let's wrap it up because we sometimes forget we're talking. Just a heads up, guys. Keep it civil and let's have some questions. Go ahead, Andrew.
Andrew, you're a good dude, but yeah, please pay attention to that.
Yeah, that was real nice of you. And if we're doing this in good humor and all that, that's great. Otherwise, right. Okay, so here's the deal. I did want to share something briefly from a little ways back, and that was on the I think y'all were talking about. And let's see if I can find the actual site. Wikipedia, astronomy, under the article on precession. I just want to read this one sentence, and it's here. Axial precession is the movement of the rotational axis of an astronomical body, whereby the axis slowly. Let me just skip forward. In the case of Earth, this type of precession is also known as the precession of the equinoxes, lunisolar precession, or precession of the equator. Earth goes through one such complete precessional cycle in a period of approximately 26,000 years, or 1 degree of every 72 years. So that's astronomy. That's accepted. That's just science. That's just I'm just trying to.
That's when you consider the precession of the Earth, but there's also the precession of the Sun. There's the precession of human consciousness. There's the precession of the galactic center. There's a lot of precessions that are involved.
Yeah, there are, and there's a lot of like let's look at the yugas just for a quick second. You can break your yugas down into cycles of like 4,320, which number is interesting because it quickly begs questions about Pythagoras. We say Pythagoras and the Tetractys, and you'll get into things like, okay, 4,320 is one number, but you'll end up with multiples of that number. And what's neat about that one is that's the short cycle. And I'm just trying to put a colloquial term or colloquial speak, and that is, I would say God is a very merciful, benevolent God. And then you can that's a couched phrase. What do I mean by that? The shortest cycle is the so-called Dark Age or the Iron Age, the Kali Yuga, because even in the smaller cycle of 4,320, which by the way is twice 1/12 of the precessional cycle, that is the one I just named. You take 2160 and double it, and what do you get? Boom, bang, there you go. Now that is one small tenth of a cycle. What is the rest of that cycle? The third in the cycle of yugas is the one that precedes the Kali Yuga, and that's twice the duration of the Kali Yuga. I'm sorry, it's called Dwapara Yuga because 2 out of the 4 original portions of let's just say total goodness and virtue were there. Why is the second one called Dwapa Yuga called Treta Yuga instead of Dwapara Yuga? Because 3/4 of the original virtue was prevalent. I can do this again 3 different ways, but I'm just telling you, you can construct this any way you like. I'm just showing you how the Yuga cycle works. The original cycle is 4 times the duration of Kali Yuga. Why? Because God is a merciful, benevolent, just God. And in that first cycle of 4 durations of virtue, that's like a time we can only imagine, even if it's going to return, because that was awesome. It's just that the second set of, or the second portion of the grand cycle.
Hey, Andrew, buddy. Are
you
trying to ask a question? I'm not trying to interrupt you, buddy. Are you trying to ask a question? Or are you trying to, because we're just trying to get this flowing, buddy.
Yeah, I hear you. But I'm trying to say that the Yuga cycle is not something that we can just sit here and speculate about. You can study it and you can know what the facts are, or you can kick it back and forth like a football. And my point is, if we're just passing the football, hey, man, I'll smile, I'll shut up, I'll go drink a keg and come back and we'll pass the football. Shane, I'm just trying to point out that there is actually truth, and that if you study that Yuga cycle goes in the order of 4, 3, 2, 1, bang. And that's just how much of the virtue that is in this cosmos or in a lesser cycle prevails. And then it's a large cycle, big picture, little picture type equation, like my elder brother used to say. And you know what else he used to say? He would say, brother, stick to the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. Thanks, man.
Hey, Andrew, I just wanted to say to everyone else in the room real quick, Shane, sorry. Pulling the Kenton away. Sorry, Kent. I think you're awesome. But I just shared a video I watched earlier today, actually. It was made by Sad Guru, and he goes over the professional cycles exactly how Andrew basically just described. A detailed video. So I think you guys will all enjoy that.
Also, to what Andrew was saying too, just so everybody understands, because I know a couple of people are like, what the hell is going on right now? So he mentioned, it's called Plato's Great Year, a full precessional cycle, and then it can be broken down to 1 degree change in the night sky every 72 years. So that means you're seeing 1 degree change of the night sky of the constellations, and a full rotation of those constellations is about 25,000 years. Just so everybody knows what we're talking about, and that's the wobble that the Earth has on its axis.
And it's really the cool thing I've read. Various sacred texts have those numbers related to precession. It's just all over the world in so many sacred texts. And one of my favorite one is there's a jaguar underneath the pyramid in Chichen Itza in Mexico, and it's got 72 pieces of jade. So 72 is the basic 1 degree. So 1 degree every 72 years. If you look at a star, it'll turn 1 degree in 72 years, and then you see, multiples of 72. 72 times half of 72 is 108. Well, how many beads on the rosary? 108. And it's just so many. How many names of God in the Torah? 72. How many virgins? How many virgins in the air?
Yeah.
Okay, then how do you rotate all that back into what we're experiencing now and what we need to do in order to have this disclosure come in and affect the people? I understand the numbers and the bases, but how is it relating to the issues that we're dealing right now in our society? I'm just a question.
In theory, if we go through cataclysms cyclically and we're coming upon I don't know. That could be a reason why you're seeing increased activity in UFOs. I don't know. And then you talk about consciousness rising and falling. Are we rising right now? So it could be connected to what we're seeing with the phenomenon or not. As far as pushing people to come forward, is really not a connection as far as that goes. If something happens on a global scale, maybe that'll push, disclosure forward. But I've always had an interest in the cataclysms and cycles. I don't really know for sure if it's connected to UFOs or disclosure.
Well, what's really interesting about the way that Sadhguru describes it, and also what I've just kind of discovered from my work, I use Sadhguru because he's well known, right? He talks about how to do with distance from our actual solar system, right? The sun, the earth, all our planets, and from the galactic center. So as we go through this precessional cycle, we actually our orbit around the center of the galactic center is more of an ellipse versus a circle. And so there's moments where our entire solar system is closer to the black hole in the center of our galaxy versus further away. And we're at a point where we're actually going towards the black hole. And so we're actually experiencing a denser realm of electromagnetic energies, is a really easy way of putting it. And in those times, the denser beings become...
That I understand, that if we are arriving closer to a point of energy that's making all this happen, then we should be able to project out, is this going to be the next 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 15 days? That should give us some idea of a way to track the density of the sightings versus the procession toward the black hole energy.
Definitely, and they're saying basically for the next 70 years we'll be at that distance where the veil is revealed, the veil that blocks us from seeing the different realms. Over the next 70 years, that should be thinning, and then we'll be able to perceive it.
Yeah.
Then we need to teach our children and grandchildren about this, because they're the ones that are going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, so it's amazing. That's to what we were talking about before. It's amazing that these ancient civilizations and cultures were able to record it, because it's almost like an oral tradition. Like you're gonna have to keep passing that knowledge down, recording it on stone or whatever, to keep that going. I just want to say one more thing too.
Okay, then we'll get to Kent.
Yeah, and then we'll get to Kent. We're talking about with the procession stuff. Why it's important, I think it comes down to, I think Bill might have just asked why it's important, because I think knowledge of the natural world in that regard is important, especially when people are keeping record of this for, thousands and thousands of years. So it's just something to keep in mind. And if anybody's interested and they like all this 108 and 72, we've done a couple episodes with Randall Carlson. He did like a whole lesson in sacred geometry and stuff like that. So if you're looking for a resource on that, Randall Carlson's really good.
That's great.
He has a lot of information. So
go ahead, Kent.
Sexy voice, Mike. So anyway, getting back to stuff that science can actually explain, and we talk about nuts and bolts stuff. I think megalithic structures is a really good example of stuff that we can't explain. So I just wanted to put something forward. We wouldn't build floors out of 1,600-ton blocks unless it was easy. Okay, so when someone can tell me how they can do it easily, I think science has got it by the balls.
Anybody got an answer to that, Joe?
Well, I was going to say we wouldn't do it if it was easy or if it was extremely important to remember. So the two reasons I think go hand in hand.
I agree. Whatever they're trying to save in myths all over the world, so many different places. It's funny because also you see the zodiac, which I think represents that cycle. It's 2,160 years for each age of Taurus, age of Pisces, and it's like I remember when I went to Norway and I'm looking down in the downtown area. There's this giant clock of the zodiac on, and I'm like, why is this here? I went to a church, gigantic zodiac set up. I remember asking one of the priests, my girlfriend at the time, I'm like, ask him why that's here. Why is the zodiac here? She's like, he doesn't know. So yeah, so it's like something was really, really important to preserve, whether it was consciousness or cataclysmic related. I don't know, but we need to figure it out because obviously they knew something we don't know.
Before we get over to Andrew, I wonder if this plays into, was it Lou that was talking about Somber or talking about possible cataclysm coming up with the future human hypothesis? How do you feel about that?
Well, could I just quickly respond, mate? Sorry to jump in. I just wanted to respond. Joe, I understand all that stuff, mate, but I've been doing construction for quite a while. The focus of society for the last 100 years has been about reduction, making technology smaller, making buildings more efficient, making everything smaller and lighter. So why 5,000 years ago were we moving around 1,600-ton blocks of granite for no good reason other than it must have been extremely important?
Yeah, I don't disagree. Yeah, 100%. There's a reason. I wish we knew that reason. I mean, we have speculation, but...
Well, I've got a long history in construction engineering, and a lot of these structures, megaliths, were built to withstand a lot of electromagnetic radiation and direct impact, high energy bursts, like the Osirion. That's something I would design to withstand under pressures of a nuclear blast. So they were like Darren Kuyu, that's 7 stories underground that can house 20,000 people. They knew that there were cataclysms coming, and they built these fortifications to help humans survive. And then whoever had these technologies bugged out, while it was happening, that's where we get the historical accounts of Zoroaster that built underground, and with the Old Testament, with the Ark. There are many different religions and things that spin off of that, but there were many different ways that primitive humans were helped to write it out. And it looks like whatever paleo contact was with building ancient megaliths and stuff, and there's probably at least 4 different ages of megalithic construction, they bugged out, because it's average of every 2,000 to 3,000 year cycles that humanity gets hit with some kind of hemispherical, if not global cataclysm. This last 5,000 years is the longest stretch for at least 200,000 years. So they definitely had a reason to build them, and part of them looks like they were hit with high energy weapons. That can be debated, obviously, but they weren't in one accord, it looks like.
And we might not even need a comet or an asteroid now, right, Rob? I think the internet might take us all down here. That's what I'm thinking.
We could have another Carrington event, and we're done.
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't need any external cataclysms because the internet's taking us all down right now.
No, yeah, the statistics. If we got hit with a Carrington level event, within 2 years, about 90 to 95% of the U.S. population would die from exposure and starvation and disease because we're not equipped.
Don't forget about super volcanoes either. If a super volcano erupts even across the opposite side of the world, it would drop the temperature probably 5 to 6 degrees over here, which would fuck up crops and kill everybody.
Keep in mind, Firestone wrote the book. That's where the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis came into play. 40,000 years ago, there was a supernova in our local neighborhood that precipitated the giant comet that came in about that ended up being the impactor for the Younger Dryas. I'm just really not seeing that it's a coincidence that we have another huge comet coming into our solar system now that's 100, I think it's like 100 miles across in diameter or something to that magnitude. It's massive. They say it's going to orbit around Saturn and kick on out, but they don't calculate in general relativity the electromagnetic effects of celestial bodies. They just look at space-time. And if Jupiter or one of the other ones tugged on it just enough, it could kick it on into the inner atmosphere. And they don't have to impact our planet to have a high energy event. They've shown with CMEs and stuff, if they cruise by in close enough proximity, the electromagnetic energy of it will heat up the core of the earth, which causes the waters to boil out from the deep. That's where we got the last flood at 3200 BC. That wasn't a flood or a catastrophic flood like the Younger Dryas were. That was a rainout for like 40 days because the molecules inside the earth got superheated and boiled out, literally. So we just need a close proximity drive-by, and the gas plumes of it, like fires around 1900 that incinerated entire demographics, like at the Great Lakes region and stuff. Those were gas plumes that came in from us crossing the path of one of these comet streams. So yeah, there's a lot of things that could take us out.
I could just see somebody brand new to the subject saying, "Do you guys have anything good to say about our future?"
Well,
this is not to me. It's
5,000
interesting.
years.
To me, it's interesting. So it's not me. I'm just saying some new people would be saying that. I'm not saying don't talk about it because I love this stuff.
I really think we have Overwatch. Like I said, this is the longest stretch humanity has been allowed to evolve as a species without being set back to near extinction. So, if you believe any one of the number of religions or ancient myths, I don't feel we're alone in any of this. I don't think that we're at the mercy of whatever this, some of these alien species are. Some of them have been here longer than humanity. There have been outliers probably because you see the cave art from like 40,000 years ago, this giant, 30, 40 foot tall, bulbous, redheaded thing that, is holding humans. I say those aren't the regular kind that are on this planet. They drew what was atypical that they wanted to remember. And I think there's, those outliers that cruise by, dropped in, and then for whatever reason, they're not here anymore. They probably found out that there's other intelligent life here that didn't want them to stick around. There's always that yin and yang balance for power. So I just don't feel like we're left at the mercy of a type of alien race that gives zero concern for humanity, other than we could send it and they want to stop that. If this is their home too, they're showing restraint, whereas they could come out and just completely decimate if they wanted to, or but they're not. What that shows me as a soldier, they're going by rules of engagement. They may have a right to self-defense, but they don't have a right to interfere in our affairs otherwise. And it's just something I've been toying with as a hypothesis.
I'm glad you're here, Rob. I put your guys, hey guys, get up in the nest too. I put his YouTube channel, Military Witness to UAP. Great stuff too. So who was next, by the way, in here? Was it JH?
Hi, everybody. We were discussing, somebody was mentioning if we were building something, we wouldn't use these humongous, ridiculously heavy blocks. But I was just thinking, if whatever these things are can manipulate space-time in such a way, like maybe the weight of it isn't as much of a factor as it is when we use how we use to do things, like what we know to do. I know I didn't quite say that right, but
they've mastered anti-gravity is what they've done, and they're able to make subatomic quantum level on a macro level. They're able to manipulate macro as if it were quantum scale. I can't explain it, but that's how it's been explained to me by the physicists that are in the know on this stuff.
Beautiful.
So who would be next? That would be Logan, then Lexi, then David.
Oh, okay. First time, I gotta go. Just talking about, Joe was talking about the how he just sees like the zodiac signs everywhere, and yeah, I think there's this guy like Paul LaViolette, and he talks about like how there's the zodiac signs create this like secret cipher that was encoded by some advanced ancient civilization, and it's meant to like remind us about this explosion that I think it like emanates from like the galactic core or something, or it could just be like the sun, but maybe they just thought it was the galactic core, and it's meant to like repeat like every certain amount of years, and by encrypting this information into like star constellations and myths they can ensure that the content of this like astrological cipher would be like conveyed undistorted throughout fucking millennia, right? So I think that's what that's all about.
I mean, I think I'm next anyway. So I'm freaking out there, doing as many emojis as possible. And I have some notes written down. And it is Kala Yuga, right? And so that's basically our orbit around the galactic center. But what's so interesting to me is how our sun gets closer to the galactic center at the same time. And like, if you just think about just again, we're talking about like comets flying around the universe and how they might affect the Earth, even though they don't hit the Earth. So you've got the sun orbiting around the galactic center now. It's literally, the word literally is being used. It's literally in the denser realm of creation, to where the sun is energized by our galactic center, to the point where maybe there is some type of cyclical sun activity. I'm just going to put it that way.
All right, thank you for that. Let's get over to David real quick, and Kent, I got to say something. David, you're up.
Yeah, hey guys. So I don't think we need to look very far for proof, in a sense, of what we've been talking about. You got ancient Egypt, Roman, megalithic, Mayan civilizations. Atlantis. If you look at all of these, they all have something very much in common, where they would slip into kind of like an age of darkness and then collapse, and they took their knowledge with them, or retained their knowledge in some way through physical items. But Plato was looking at this more as like an inescapable piece of the recurring pattern of the great year, right? But something that I thought of when we were talking about this, which I think everyone in this group would find really, really interesting, because it's right on point with it, is it's a book called The Adam and Eve, Chan Thomas. It was written in 1966. He was a U.S. Air Force employee, and he spent the greater part of his life writing this book basically on the history of cataclysms and when it happens, why it happens. And when it first came out, it was actually pulled from the shelves and classified by the CIA. And then a couple years ago, CIA released a sanitized version of it, and it's still not the full version. So if you dig a little bit and you search around for the full Chan Thomas's story of Adam and Eve, you can find the actual original one. And the most common word that was pulled out of the version the CIA released is magnetothermodynamics. And in this book, he talks about this cycle, referring to the same length of a cycle that Plato spoke about. And he says that basically we travel toward the galactic center. We eventually like lose the gravity. Gravity gets like sucked out. And it's a really, really good book. I think you gotta find it. It's but you got to look for the one that's the uncensored one, maybe the dark web.
Somebody sent that to me a couple of years ago, and I have not read it. Are we 100% sure the CIA did that? Is that proven that they did, that they sanitized it?
Absolutely. If you look it up, like if you do, I don't use Google anymore just because of security stuff, but yeah, but if you go to Google and search for Chan Thomas Adam and Eve story, one of the first links that'll pull up is the CIA, release of it, and it's sanitized, right? It says sanitized on it. But if you let's say Jibiru or something, or Parsec.ir, these are a couple really good information search engines that are like off the map, right? Or the dark web, you can find the full version. There's like 80 pages that the CIA didn't release, and the pages that were removed are very, very much about why this is happening, and it's an excellent read.
Appreciate that. Real quick, guys, if you like that existential dread, I actually posted up in the nest. There's a pretty good book by a philosopher named Toby Ord. It's called Existential now anyway. But before I get to Kent, hey, Joe, are you CIA?
I'll tell you a real fast story. I was working in New York, and I was traveling on the train from Queens to Brooklyn, and I'm sitting there, and I had my khaki shorts, not khaki pants on, had a nice shirt. I was going to work. I had the New York Times. I'm reading it, and this guy next to me just staring at me, and I'm like, finally, I look at him. I'm like, what? He goes, you CIA agents don't even try to hide it anymore. You got your pants on, the nice shirt, the New York Times. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's going to kill me. So it was a Wasp t-shirt, the heavy metal band. So I started talking about the band, and I just calmed him down, and I think he realized I was not CIA. But I know some people think that. They think lots of people are CIA, so I am not.
You should have said, did you know everybody in WASP is in the CIA too?
Oh my God.
That's what a CIA agent would say.
Exactly. Hey, can somebody tweet the full book of, just to make sure, I think I have it, but of the Adam and Eve story, so we can like download it?
I've got the full Monty if you want me to tweet it.
Yeah.
Yeah, put it in this thread down here, please. We'll put it in the nest.
I want to see that full Monty, please.
Yeah,
Just
because
curious, there's a version of
find the full version.
Is there a YouTube version of it, read word for word by any chance?
I mean, there probably is, but not the full version. It took me a good week.
That Bright Insight guy did like a big episode. He did like one of those YouTube videos on what you're talking about a couple years ago, I think.
Yeah, see, I thought I had the full version for a while, and then I spent a week researching, and then I actually did find the full version, and there's like 4 chapters that are not in the other one.
Another great
The book was never classified, by the way.
For all this stuff, by the way. It's called Hamlet's Mill, and it goes into all the ancient flood myths and all the connections and correlations, and it's kind of a weird read, but if you like this stuff and like researching, Hamlet's Mill.
That's a book Hoagland would always hammer during his lectures. Hamlet's. I tried reading it. It is a difficult read for me.
900 pages.
Is it?
I'm sorry, but
yeah, I've got it.
Keep thinking.
It's a dry read, but oh man, it's packed full of information. Velikovsky's are very close to the Adam and Eve story. Worlds in Collision, and 2 of his most popular works. It's Earth in Crisis and Worlds in Collision, I think, are the 2. I have to look on my shelf.
It's a little surprising our community doesn't really talk about this on average. It doesn't really come up. It doesn't really get popular if I tweet out something related. But that's just me. I mean, I'm sure there are people interested in it. Mike, I know you said you've done shows with Randall Carlson, who I love, and I need to go watch those.
I mean, I'd say stuff. 40% of our episodes are all ancient mysteries. And look, for me, I'm not going to argue with anybody. I believe humans built most of the stuff. I think that there's maybe an element of influence or channeling, not channeling like in the sense like channeling something, but like receiving knowledge from somewhere else and then applying that knowledge is, I think, in my opinion, what happened. But I'm not like I said, I'm not here to argue with people, but no. I've studied a ton.
I would like to invite you to a 5,000-ton lift.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. We've talked about this a million times. I'm not saying I know how they did it. I'm just saying I believe human ingenuity or some sort of advanced techniques were used that we just don't understand anymore.
Like, I imagine if they vibrate them at a certain point, like make them lighter or something, who knows what they figured out.
I guess, Ken, what are you saying that aliens flew here and built these things? Like, I'm just curious.
No. I'm saying we have no clue, but the explanation I hear don't make sense. And humans building them? No.
The fundamentals that can be proven, though, is that there are clear machine tool marks on them, and their LAH, the Russian science team, have extracted advanced metallurgy parts.
Yeah, no, I'm all about, like I said, there being different timelines and different technologies and like, I think because we're so separated from like the earth and nature based on technology, that back then, when the ancient people used their knowledge and understood the earth around them and the earth energies and all that in a different way that we can't even fathom because we're so separated from nature at this point.
Well, so with respect, Mike, mate, we always want nuts and bolts and rocks and all that. Doesn't make sense, and then we don't want to deal with it anymore.
They did have archaeoacoustic properties built into almost every megalithic, and that's still halfway intact. Even go back to Tepe, Pillar 43 and Enclosure D has a specific resonant frequency that it vibrates at. So yeah, we've lost something, with all the amphitheaters and stuff, between 70 to 130 megahertz. Sometimes they resonated at dual frequencies that promoted the right side of the brain and turned off the left. So
hypogeum
definitely.
At Malta, the hypogeum, the Halcephaliani hypogeum at Malta is really interesting to me. If you were to like meditate in there, I feel like you could tap into something for sure. And I think that, we've talked about this before. I think that's what the Great Pyramid was for, was some sort of like massive deprivation chamber / altered state chamber kind of a thing,
Okay, so, Mike, why would we 3,000 years ago build a moon pool in Sardinia that is still perfect to this day, that only records an event that happens every 18 and a half years?
Because they were aware of that. Like they put specific reverence for what you're talking about. It was an anomalous event that doesn't happen, and they're like, we got to record this. So what's the best way to record it? Oh, let's build this crazy moon pool that'll still be around for guys like Kent to talk about 2,000, 3,000 years from now.
Yeah, but that means that we had to be smart enough and aware enough.
I'm not saying we weren't. You're not arguing with me. You're not arguing with me because I agree with you, Ken, that we don't understand the technology, we don't understand the techniques. I'm merely saying I find it hard to believe that a physical being flew here with some sort of anti-links with the machine, and then I'm more under the assumption, like I said, that humans might have been influenced by something else, whether it be entities or metaphysical beings or whatever the case may be, that we were influenced, or I guess inspired maybe is a better word. We were inspired by something else. So that's where I'm at with this.
Something, yeah, mate, to do something that is beyond belief to this day, and then we've forgot it.
I think we're going in circles.
Yeah, I don't understand where Ken's going. I want to move on because I keep asking, is it aliens or not? If you don't believe it's aliens, I don't know what you're trying to get at, Ken.
Well,
how about we try
just non-human events and leave it at that. We don't know. We just don't know.
I kind of agree with Rob.
I like that answer. I don't know. That's my favorite answer.
That's the only truth, that we don't know.
How about we talk about the team that was out at the Calvine location, how they lined up the shot earlier?
Anybody seen that video somebody made where there was like a demon that popped out of the guy shooting like reshooting the Calvine thing? He made some sort of funny video where like he's like, check out, keep staring into the pasture.
I had a heart attack, dude.
Yeah, what the fuck is what? If you haven't seen, I mean, I don't know if somebody can post that, but
I kept saying, what am I supposed to be looking at? And then it jumps up and I shit my pants.
Bro, you gotta stop shitting your pants.
Thanks for that.
Well, it's not in public.
Go ahead, Alexi.
Yeah, I think Mind Escape made a really, really good point about how like maybe the ancients were more tuned to nature. And what I think is happening right now is that we've come up with so many different infrastructures and governmental systems and just different beliefs that we try to these inventions that we have created as humans versus actually tuning our bodies to nature to begin with. And I think that has a lot to do with why we don't understand as good as we might have used to. You know what I'm saying?
I do know what you're saying.
I think that's where the archaeoacoustics came into play because, like they talk about on the DMT trips, I think the archaeoacoustics allowed people to get in contact with other entities through that meditative state that they couldn't otherwise either with hallucinogenics or when you have that many people like in the hypogeum amplifying that standing wave frequency, but that kind of a resonance. Yeah, it's like taking a DMT trip, and some people have been, there's a lot of validity that there's a consistency of higher beings. They aren't just hallucinating them being there. So they could definitely have infused humanity with a lot more wisdom and closer to the earth to accomplish a lot of things. I think they could most definitely have educated them on how to use anti-gravity and without any mechanisms at that capacity.
I mean, totally. Like, right, if you want to consider the conscious fields as primary, right now what we're doing, this is the way I see it. We're trying to, we're all filled with our own wants, don't wants, assumptions, and expectations. And so we're trying to align natural conscious fields with our body versus aligning our body to the natural conscious fields. Hopefully that makes some sense. I don't know. I'm going to share a short clip in the bottom right. It'll make more sense. But that's what I'm getting at, is that like we're aligning our bodies to inventions, creations, versus aligning to the natural fields that already exist.
Appreciate that, Alexi. Real quick, guys, before we go on, do me a favor, get down the thread, retweet this, and I have nothing to promote except for Wounded Warriors. So if you get a chance, visit their website, donate. They help save my life, and I'm here for that, and I'm here to speak about this stuff.
Dude, you don't have anything to promote? What the fuck?
Oh, wait, I got a podcast now. I do have that. I failed already.
Hey, Shane.
What's up?
I was going to tell you we should connect with the Wounded Warrior Project here locally in Roswell.
Okay. Down. Of course I'm down.
Yeah, so the new podcast is called the Roswell UFO Symposium. Go follow the Roswell Incident, RDR Incident below. That's Toby. He works at the Daily Record, the Roswell Daily Record. They're sponsoring the podcast. Yeah.
Hey, Mike, is this an end to you and Shane's podcast that's already going on, or is this?
No.
Okay.
That's still.
Hi, Dan.
If anything, that'll be longer and better now. Actually, we've been doing 2 to 3 hour episodes, which I was only doing an hour to hour and a half episodes before. My co-host Maurice will be in and out. He's a busy dude. So yeah, but Shane will still be a producer on that, still doing that stuff, and we're still going to do adding this new podcast to the mix, which I think will be a great outlet for this topic, because I think that for me at least, I haven't got to talk to a lot of the people in this community that are considered, authors, researchers, some of the more top people in this field. I've had some people on in the past, but I stepped away from UFO Twitter like 2.5, 3 years ago after doing it for like a year and a half because of the drama and the BS. So, and our mind escape isn't just UFOs, it's ancient civilizations, megalithic structures, philosophy, it's a whole bunch of different stuff. Yeah, so this will be fun to just focus on UFO stuff and not be the only person running the show too. I get to put my feet up a little bit, listen, speculate, from a different angle for me. So I appreciate that aspect of it.
What's up, Kent?
I was wondering, do you guys think it would be a good idea if Twitter introduced a bird emoji? Like, a respectful one, but like a bird emoji. Do you think that would be a good idea?
Like a middle finger?
Like a middle raised finger type bird emoji.
Yeah, but then people say they're flipping the bird.
Well, whatever we flip, but as long as we have a displeasure at someone or something.
How about the peace sign?
How about just a bird?
A peace dove, maybe. Let's use a peace dove.
Sounds like Kent's on one tonight. He's a little feisty. He's just a little bit feisty. Hey, guys, do me a favor. Get down there.
I think it was breakfast. Sorry, Sam. Shane. Sorry, mate.
It's all right, man. No problem. I'm glad you're here, dude. Do me a favor, guys.
Yeah, hey, can see your point. I think it would be really good if they introduced a flipping the bird emoji.
No, I think it'd be really good if they got rid of the goddamn sound effects. That shit's giving me a heart attack every damn time someone does some of that loud shit, man.
Here. Thank you. I love to that.
I don't know why they thought that would be a good idea in a place where
also,
you were
Shane, dude, I looked in the last space you hosted. I looked at all your pictures, man. I looked like you had a great life. And hey, brother, I don't say this often, but man, like, thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for all the shit you did. It looked like you had a great life, bro. And I saw all the pictures, and it looked like it spanned like a long time. So thanks, bro.
I'm not dead yet, brother. That's all I care about.
Nah, you're not dead yet. You look like you're kicking, dude. I saw those fucking MMA pictures. Yeah, bro. Go off.
Yeah, back in the day, huh? Now I love rocks.
Should have seen him on the stream.
He looks like I love dudes that look like a mouse, but you know that they might just fucking rip your face off. Those are my favorites. Those are my favorite guys.
That's the best compliment I've ever got.
You called him a mouse?
He looks like a mouse. He looks really nice, you know. But then I saw those pictures, and he's jacked. He's also jacked. So I was like, okay. And then I saw the mixed martial arts pictures.
As much as I love this is making me feel all kind of embarrassed right now. So let's move on.
I'm gonna make you blush, brother. You deserve it.
I'm down. Shane's the greatest. Let's move on. So hey, Shane.
Nah, Shane is the greatest.
No.
What's on the agenda for tonight, guys?
Well, that's what. Who has a topic they want to discuss? Anybody have anything they want to discuss right now?
Kyle has looks like Kyle has his hand up.
Let's talk about Shane's abs.
Go ahead. Stop it, Kyle. Go.
Come on, guys. Let's get on task.
Like a 12-pack as far as odds. Sorry, I'll be quiet.
Kyle, go ahead, buddy.
Stand up, people.
I think, Kyle, you have a bug. We can't hear you, bud.
Kyle.
I think it's got that.
Your abs are a hard show to follow,
Right,
Shane.
can you hear me now?
Yeah, now we can hear you. You.
Okay, yeah, I had the microphone in. But what I want to say is the government, they control most of the information. Okay, Luis Elizondo, he's coming out and he's saying, he shows UFO videos and stuff like that, but that he's still a part of that government. What you guys are doing with your podcast is a grass move movement. This brings like the woo out to the front. I know Luis Elizondo and the government, they don't want the woo out there. Well, I think the woo should be out there. And I think what you guys are doing is the spear, because there's over 1,000 people in Phoenix that, it started in Kingman that seen a mile-wide UFO, and they know what they have seen. And, the people already had disclosure because they've seen these craft. They want answers. They're not getting answers, and the government drip. But I think the podcast that you guys are doing is totally epic. It's totally awesome because it's for us. It's for people that know the disclosure. We know that we're being observed, and it helps us. It helps us speak. And when we listen to you guys speak, you guys talk about the woo that no one wants to talk about because they say we want smart minds. We don't want to talk about the woo. Well, yeah, the people, we already know what's going on. We've already had disclosure, and I think the podcast that you guys are doing, it's just a stepping stone, but I fucking love it, and it's totally epic. And thank you guys for being brave and going out there and doing this. That's all I gotta say.
It's not that Lou doesn't want the woo or Chris Mellon doesn't want the woo. If you listen to Chris Mellon in Spain, he specifically said, I can't go into abductions, which I don't, that's not even the most woo stuff. He goes, I go to the New York Times, I go to senators. I have a hard enough time getting them to accept the basic premise that UFOs may not be us, they may be non-human. So you can't really expect them to jump to the woo. As much as I love the most woo stuff, it's just not realistic to expect that.
Yeah,
right now.
They have a part to play, right? I mean, it's a narrow scope to attempt to do, and I think that's laying the groundwork for people to discuss more woo topics.
That's government, but what I think what Old Vet and Mindscape and these guys are doing, it's grassroots, and not only that, it gives other people a chance to watch and listen to other things that are woo. You know what I mean? So
Kyle,
there's two sides.
Does the government have crash retrieve ships? In your opinion?
Who you're asking?
I don't know if they were crashed or if they were just planted there so the government can.
I think
I
we're all
don't know.
kind of in agreement here, or most of us are in agreement here that there's some sort of debris recovered. I would think it's relevant that we try to go after some of that, and I don't disagree. We try to discuss woo topics, but I think there's some importance to get at what is known. You know, we have satellites up in orbit that are obviously picking up data, whether or not it's relevant or not. So there's a lot of things to pursue here that are pretty relevant that are in the government. You know, but it isn't everything.
Citizens go with the woo, government, you do your drip drip. We're going to have our own conversation.
You know, it's funny.
The distinction that we want to draw was that they needed to do away with the previous information that was advanced as fact, but wasn't actually fact or couldn't be proven as fact. So in the academic circle, they need to focus on the nuts and bolts side that can be verified, but they didn't say to dismiss the experiencers. That needs to be a separate part, that's distinguished, but not to advance unfounded as fact when there's no evidence to back it up. And
that's
the government for 75 years has done that.
That's not accurate. So, there's evidence if somebody has a close encounter and they have injuries, they have brain injuries, that is evidence that something's going on. So that's something that's not, it's not just like you're saying, there's no evidence. There is evidence. I'm not saying it's evidence of woo stuff or non-human, but something that they saw, especially with Jay Stratton, which one of the things that bothers me the most, the guy, it's obviously Jay Stratton is Axelrod. The guy's family has had issues with illnesses, and people are like, oh, he's just making it up. He's trying to get attention. Really? You want to have attention with talking about your wife having a bipedal wolf in your backyard and the kids seeing it, and then orbs and the kids getting sick and then your wife getting sick? And I'm not directing this at you. I'm directing this at some of the skeptics who are just taking shots at him.
If they've got quantifiable data they can advance with that, then bring it, into the equation of academic research. But it needs to have some kind of a data point to get into that category. They both need to discuss, that the woo side is on the back end of the train. We're trying to get the front side in to bring academics and scientists and politicians that are scared of this topic.
That's what's happened.
To what they can accept first.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Eventually, they will go. They'll start questioning it themselves, and they'll stumble upon the woo on there. I don't disagree with you at all there.
There will be whistleblowers in 2023. There will be people coming out in the government, and I'm going to find those people, and I'm going to bring them to Mindscape Podcast, to the Citizen Podcast, and we will rock this shit. That's all I'm going to say.
I love the energy, Kyle. I'm with it.
I think that
Kyle's getting me excited, and I got to be honest, Kyle. I was a little.
I like where he's going with it.
I was a little skeptical early on, Kyle, but I love you, Kyle, and you're saying all the right things right now.
Let's get to Alexi real quick because he's had his hand up for a minute being polite, and then we'll get over to Sam. I'm glad you're here, Sam.
Right on. I'm glad Sam is here as well. And I just wanted I made two different notes. I was lucky enough to be on a podcast with Lou Elizondo, and I didn't bring up the woo. He brought up the woo, and we dove into it. Me and him, we dove into my theory of woo. I'm sharing that right now on the bottom right. But then on the second note that I have is, but Congress needs baby steps. So basically, your average human on this planet is a very physical, materialistic person. And yeah, they're not ready for the woo. And so when it comes to like convincing Congress, hey, we need to study this, it's a baby step process. But for people that have been listening and watching, you know what I'm saying? Like the woo has come up, and he could say of the government side of things have definitely hinted towards it. And I guess that's all I was really going to say.
Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I've made a lot of videos with Lou Elizondo and John Ramirez. That's the wooest shit I've ever made. So I don't know what the impression is that, like, you know what I mean? These guys aren't with the shits. Like, they're definitely with it. They're talking about it at a scientific level. And I think that bridge is hard for people to cross on their own. You got to be walked through it for some people. But when someone's talking about these serious manner, and they keep reminding you what their profession is and what their field of study is in, and they keep giving you these weird analogies and these weird metaphors and these stories. What are we, you can really only draw so many conclusions. And then when you dip into the science that's being talked about now and where these cohorts came from and who they were and why they were chosen, you really get to figure out the government is deep into the woo. And that seems to be, in my opinion, what maybe their first step out. That's the foot they're putting forward. So we should be prepared for it. But I don't know why we get the impression that that's not what the deal is. I'd like to hear people's perspective about that.
You got one of the top immunologists in the world, and Gary Nolan, talking about the leading theory in the intelligence community is that when somebody sees a gray, it's an avatar of the actual intelligence. To me, that's woo. I mean, I love that. I've never heard that theory until recently. The fact that we're going there right now is amazing. I don't know if the government knows any of this stuff. I think there are pockets within the government. And you want to talk about woo that gets ignored. And Mike, I've spoken to Mike. I don't know if he's still here, Mind Escape Mike. Studies over and over and over and over again where he uses his healing technique, healing mice of cancer. Total crickets from the UFO community. There's data, there's papers, there's 2 peer-reviewed papers in 2 mainstream journals. Absolutely nothing from the UFO community, who screams for data all the time. I don't understand it whatsoever. It's considered woo because they don't understand how it works, but it works. Maybe you guys can explain it to me why I get crickets when I put that stuff out there.
Wait, what study was this, Joe?
So it's Bill Bankston. He's been doing it for a few decades now. He has this healing technique he learned from this psychic. Basically, it's a hand-eye imaging cycling technique. They inject the mice. The most common cancer they give them is mammary cancer. The mice will die within 27 days if they don't do anything. They use this technique, and I think 85% of the mice will live their 2-year lifespan. Over and over.
Can you post that?
Say again?
Can you post that down in this thread?
Yeah, I gotta figure out how to do it in here. What if I
We'll
retweet it on mine?
Yeah, do it on yours.
Yeah.
And we'll get Chase to put it up in here.
Yeah, I can
that.
find it. If you just send me a link to it somehow, or
yeah, he's all about
I'll just
data.
search through yours.
All about data. He's a sociologist and a statistician out of Long Island. I'm going to interview him. I'm just trying to figure out the date with him. Yeah, the guy's amazing.
Hey, Chase,
I just wanted to say
you should ask him real quick too. You should ask him about if he used mice from Jack's labs. I don't know if you've looked into the whole telomere thing with the mice from Jack's labs and medical experiments. Something everybody should look into.
I don't know.
Yeah. Toby, go ahead real quick. Toby had something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say all the former military people I've dealt with, like John Alexander, Lou Elizondo, John Burroughs, all of them, I think, embrace the woo. I don't think any of them think that there's nothing to it. I think they all believe, in my opinion.
John Alexander's a little sketch, in my opinion. Like, I'm not saying, like, all the way. I know he's an old-timer. He's been through a lot of stuff. But sometimes, like, I get some weird reads on him, and I don't know what to think of it.
John Alexander actually has a part in his book, Reality Denied. He has a segment on Bankston. I spoke to people behind the scenes, people you would know. They're like, yeah, Bankston, amazing work. I don't really want to talk about it publicly, but it's amazing. It needs to be replicated, so I will retweet it as soon as I can. I do like, I know. I remember going to see Alexander lecture here in Vegas with my ex-wife. She's like, he's creepy. You're not the only one who says that. People get that vibe from him, but his book is really good, Reality Denied.
To your point,
you're in Vegas?
I am in Vegas, yes.
To your point,
I have family out there in Henderson.
I am in Henderson.
Oh, that's cool. My family lives on a wagon wheel.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say to Joe's point about people asking about data and stuff. The problem is you're immediately going to get an reaction when you say the words psychic and cures cancer. And I'm not saying that for, obviously, I think also, try to be replicated and put out there. If there's something to it, I mean, why not? What do you have to lose? Somebody's invested research and years into this thing. So, very least publish it and try and get the word out and have other people look into it too and try and replicate it. But the thing that what I was saying though is I think there's certain keywords that people shy away from for different reasons. There is a stigma. I'm going to be open about it. I shy away from shit sometimes if it sounds too woo. I like woo. I'm a half wooer. Just give me one woo. I can't do two woo usually. Two woos usually two woo. All right, but give me one woo and I'm in the game. Anyways, but that's just my thought on what you were asking.
And that totally, but it's like, look at the experiments, and he's like, if you see a problem with my model, if you see that there's a problem with my experiments, go ahead, tell me. He's been to medical schools, he's lectured. It's like there's just this block, not even the wording. It's just a block with, we can't heal. There's no way. Yeah, it shouldn't work, but it does. And he's like, and you'll see if you watch any of his interviews on YouTube, he's like, most of the times he'll just say, that's interesting, and he'll say, I don't know, how does it work, we don't know, we have theories. I don't think it's
even if it's a placebo. I mean, if you could keep doing it and get the placebo effect out of it, why not do that?
His idea on placebo is amazing. He does not think it's a psychological thing. It's with the mice. So as far as I know, the mice don't realize they're part of an experiment, so that kind of blows placebo out the window. But I won't get into it now, but it's really interesting.
Hey, real quick before we get over to Dan, who's next. Chase, if you go to the website I posted, that's Joe's website, you can actually, there's a search function. You can find anything we're talking about in here that he's discussing.
Except so Bankston. Dan. I have not done anything on Bankston.
Okay. Then
it's all UFOs. It's all UFOs.
Joe, someone just pointed out in the thread that Joe is CIA.
You
got me.
Yeah, that was me, man. That's my bad. But it's an honest question, because Joe, dude, you're all over Twitter, and I know how CIA likes to control information, and you do a lot of information. I don't know, might be CIA. It's just a question.
Yeah, wow. It's ridiculous. If that's a serious question, it's ridiculous, but whatever. I'm not going to spend
This is ridiculous.
That would make Linda Thompson CIA as well by that gauge.
We all know she is. Yeah.
We got to get over to Dan.
Hold on. The only CIA person in here is Tupacabra, and Matthew Roberts confirmed it. So
if you are CIA, do a heart emoji.
I am not the CIA. I repeat.
Okay, guys, let's get on to Dan.
Alexi, no offense, bro, but I never thought you were, bro. You're like the only person I don't think is the CIA.
Then I'm doing a great job. All right.
Let's get a break, guys. I'm going to start booting people out. You first, Mike. I don't like you. Anyway, let's get on to Dan.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of this sort of what people are describing is like almost a problem of consumption. Like, somebody earlier said something about how you don't want to talk about this because it's hard enough to sort of relay the information to Congress that they are coming from another planet, let alone the woo, right? So if you get into that situation, it sort of seems very parallel to what happened in like the psychedelic community, right? Where you're sort of like trying to describe the benefits of just like basic ground level stuff. And then you have a bunch of people saying, hey, man, psychedelics and the hippie movement have all of these other things that can be beneficial to oneself. I think that there's so many parallels there. And I'm not the only person. I'm sure that I'm probably the last person to sort of make that parallel. I think we should be okay with the fact that some Senate, some old fucking beef jerky fucker doesn't care about the woo. I think we should probably just get to trying to make them sort of be okay with them being from other planets and just get them on the nuts and bolts shit. Because the nuts and bolts shit are, in my opinion, they are sort of a genesis of deeper thinking. Just like in the psychedelic movement, like being a part of the psychedelic movement is a genesis to sort of other thinking. It doesn't need, and then once you go, you can't put bumpers on it, right? You can't put bumpers on it. When somebody takes that first, 5 gram handful of shrooms, there's no hosting anymore. You're not the shaman. Those people who are on a funky ride, and they're going to see what they're going to see. And it's the same, like, sort of shit with this, right? Like, just point them and bird dog them in the direction of UFOs and the nuts and bolts stuff, and then they will get to the woo. Like, I'm not against the woo, sort of like what Mike was saying, half and half out, but get as many people on the nuts and bolts stuff. And I feel like the whole hippie movement shit will sort of in this analogy, will take over.
Real quick, I think we need to try and guide people away from the extraterrestrial being from another planet, because in the public foray, there's no evidence of that whatsoever. It's more of a interdimensional or different scale or something of that nature. But they've never observed anything that's ever been released in public information that has been observed outside of a mid-Earth orbit. So ultra terrestrial is as far as we know. We can kind of steer the nuts and bolts people to that direction. We can't found it, and we haven't observed that. We just know that they're not us, but they're here. And some of them have been here a very long time.
Although it doesn't matter where they're from, when they're from. What matters is our planet is being observed, and we are not alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Joe just said is exactly what I'm saying. Like, don't try and put bumpers on these people. Like, just give them that 5 gram handful of nuts and bolts and let them take that trip. And then eventually I think they will get to this point that we're all at. Like, we all just say, hey man, this is how this shit, like, this is the raw deal. This is how this goes. This is all the information. And if they want to get there, they can get there. Don't force anybody, Forcing woo onto people is probably harder than forcing like nuts and bolts information on people.
Absolutely. They'll run away with their hair on fire.
Forcing nuts and bolts information onto people is hard as shit if anybody's tried it. So just like,
Enough CIA talk.
Hey, we got to get over to Sam, though. Go ahead, Sam.
I saw the show, but what were your guys' thoughts about how did the podcast go? How did you? I missed the end of that part. I'd love to hear about the Roswell.
Epic.
Right? The Roswell show. I keep forgetting the damn name, guys. The Roswell Symposium report.
Close enough, brother. Roswell UFO Symposium.
Yes. I love the art on it too. Honestly, like it looks like a cool vibe. So pumped about that. Excited to hear like when the next episode's going to be. Is it weekly? What's going on?
Yeah, we're about to go weekly, but it's going to be about 2 weeks before we launch, right, guys?
I'd be more than that, 3, because I don't leave for Wounded Warrior until Friday, and then it's 2 weeks.
Yeah, we're just announcing it tonight on my podcast.
Hey,
so I'm just going to start linking things to Mike's podcast when I promote, and then
real quick,
or link tree.
Real quick, I was actually going to say something. Thanks a lot for that, Chase. Oh, I can't get Taylor up here. She keeps requesting. Are you able to get her up? For some reason, won't let.
Are we going to have to kick some people? So volunteer.
The CIA called and they said they didn't want Taylor to talk into the space tonight.
We can't have Taylor talking tonight. Sorry about that.
Has Puddle said anything?
Just kick me off. I pushed the button on accident.
Oh,
you're
hey,
okay.
Puddle.
Glad you're here, Puddle.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Back to the Roswell thing. Chupacabra, you should hit me up because those Roswell shirts you made are fucking bomb, and I think we could sell some.
Hey, thanks for the invite, buddy. I love how my CIA jokes are just playing out. They're so funny. I love it.
Welcome,
hey, Taylor.
You're a good sport, Taylor, but it is funny.
Taylor doesn't think Joe CIA. She thinks Sam CIA.
Also, like the smartest scientist in the room, so.
Am I CIA?
Not the smart part.
I thought Mind Escape though. He's got the pyramid with the eye and the M's.
No,
like,
I mean, just because you're a Mason doesn't mean you have to be in the CIA.
She said I was a 30.
He's Illuminati.
Mason. Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right, mind
You must
control.
like the dollar bill, buddy.
Back on track.
Back on track, guys.
Dude, I told you a million times.
They started
Taylor.
it.
Ancient Egypt, Taylor. Eye of Ra, Eye of Horus, Taylor.
Hold on a second. I know what's going on. Mike, you took an edible, didn't you? That's the different Mike we have right now. I knew it. I knew something was up. You want an edible, aren't you, Mike?
You were hanging out with Elmo, weren't you?
No,
Hey,
you got mind control, Mike, tonight, baby.
So if you guys are starting a Roswell podcast, Do you guys, Mike? Are you on board with crashes happen?
Oh, I am.
I'm the resident skeptic. No, I look, I'm open to anything. I've said it a million times. I say it all the time on my podcast. I'm open to crash retrievals. What's the likelihood that we have? I don't know. That's not my thing. I'm more of like a philosopher, metaphysician. So I'll be the resident that on the podcast.
We're gonna take you out back, bro, if you don't say yes.
Toby's got all the historical newspaper clippings and everything. I was reading through this, like 100 of them last night. There's some interesting shit in there. There's some very weird shit too, and there's also some very woo shit in those as well.
I'll tell you now, Mike. You're not enough woo, because we do have crash retrievals. I'll tell you that they're hidden in civilian programs, just like would do the Atomic Energy Commission. It's the only way you keep something hidden, right? Keep them out there.
Again, I'm open to it. I don't know that it's that yet. I mean, I don't know.
And I know this is not evidence, obviously, but I did. I'm skeptical along the way. I'm always skeptical, and I asked Eric. I'm like, all right, Eric, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you that and Eric Davis, I'm talking about. How confident are you that there's a crash retrieval program? He goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, it would be 100. He goes, and I'm not the only one. There are people who are dead who had that same level of confidence. There are people who are alive who have that same level of confidence. So, I listen to that. It doesn't mean it's true, and I still want to see it for myself, and I want to hear from the people in the programs, which I get to hear before I die, because I don't think it's going to be us for a while. It'll be maybe Arrow and maybe certain members of the Senate and Select Intelligence Committee who get to hear from those folks. Us, I don't know. So I do think we have it. I don't know we have it.
For me, though, too, the main thing for me is I'm always open-minded. I can change my mind daily. I do, about things. So I'm not dogmatic either way. One thing I will say, though, for like this topic, the reason why I'm not going to go fully in on the crash retrieval stuff either is because I'm not fully convinced that this is 100% physical or material. I'm not saying that there's not material. I'm not saying that there's not things. I know that they're studying things and analyzing metamaterials and things like that. All I'm saying is all my experiences, aside from the orb sighting, have all been metaphysical, either in psychedelic states, meditation, lucid dreams, that kind of stuff. So,
what's the premise of the podcast? Is it about just Roswell, or is that just the name? Or
it's just the name. It's just because we're being sponsored by the Daily Record, and they kind of gave us this opportunity. So and I thought it's kind of a cool thing. Let's take it back to the roots. That's kind of where the of this whole thing kind of began, right? There's older sightings and older accounts, but this is really the most recognizable name and incident of all time. I would.
That's what I figured. It's not even just about crashes, I imagine. This is sort of centered in like the UFO phenomena, I imagine. Right? Or
lots of guests.
Jacques Vallée's book laid out some of the best evidence of a crash retrieval with Trinity that was confirmed with multiple credible witnesses and physical evidence that they had retrieved. So that's something to not lose sight of either.
It may be something that's not physical, but has the ability to take physical form. So, and that's something to get mainstream scientists or mainstream people to say, oh yeah, something that's not physical that can take physical form by manifesting somehow, maybe super duper advanced 3D printing. It's like, I don't know if that's going on, but a lot of that is in John Keel's book, Operation Trojan Horse, which is, I just talk about it.
With Vallée, they can manifest physical out of not what we think is non-physical from quantum properties. They can manifest the avatars and the craft at the same time, that they're not actually living organisms as we would think, that can reproduce and things like that. They could create it in an instant to our perspective and make it go away just as quick, to deconstruct it, the spontaneous.
It's probably the witnesses making it happen. It's probably the witnesses manifesting it. It's probably not even aliens out there.
Why are you saying probably?
Because it's something I could find between all this stuff is that there's not a foreign element. There's just the observer itself.
I mean, it could be the observer. It could be the observer. I just don't know if there's any probably with any of this stuff. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Not observer effect. I'm not talking quantum. I'm just saying. I was not referring to quantum. I was just saying the observer itself, the observers, the people who are observing it, the witnesses.
So Sam, are you saying like you don't think there's an outside influence? You think it's the actual people are manifesting these things, and there's no? Because I think maybe there is a third party, like when you have a projection, a third party, the recipient of that projection may interpret it a certain way, but someone's still projecting something in a lot of these cases. I think.
I agree. I think in a lot of the cases there's a third party. So in my opinion, human consciousness, us, can be used as a vehicle for something that's not physical to become physical by both manifesting it through human intention, through human ingenuity, through the flow state or whatever, intuition, whatever we're talking about, creativity, all the way down to like manifesting it out of thin air. So,
but cameras are unbiased.
Yeah, but I can influence someone's optical. I can influence your sensories. If I had if I were to, I can make you, and just because you see it with your eyes does not mean a camera can capture it. That doesn't mean the same thing.
That's the common thread between a lot of this stuff is that the people are seeing it, but we're always looking at where's the footage. Sometimes there is.
We got a bunch of footage.
Yeah,
I mean, the other thing is we're assuming too that our awareness is subjected to our five senses specifically and only that all the time. Where, I mean, again, and not to keep bringing up the altered state thing, but during altered states, you have different levels of awareness that shift, and you become aware of things, and even weird things like synesthesia happens, where you start smelling colors and things like that. So who's not to say that we can't tap into something? That you can't tap into something, that you can't tap into something in one of those states. I mentioned this, and I brought it up to
I feel you.
Trying to push a narrative, bro?
No, yeah. I feel you 100%. Mike.
Y'all know.
No, like there's other things out here that we're not aware of because of our senses. So there's some senses, some ways we're seeing this stuff, and we're not.
It's just a lie. Like
what I'm.
Hold on, guys. Everybody, hold on. I don't know if maybe there's a bug, Sam, and they can't see you're talking. We're stepping all over Sam, guys. He was talking. I bet you they couldn't see it. So let Sam talk. Go ahead, Sam.
Oh, yeah. If you can't hear me, I'll pop in and pop back out or whatever. But like to Mike's point, I think he's right. Like we could be subtly sensing something that's there and always there, but some parts of synesthesia or some new type of sense or a new way to synthesize senses is allowing some people to see this thing, to see some things that are already there. I mean, in that sense, I'm open to all options. That one of the things I think about often is like, wow, like, these experiencers themselves are very powerful people. A lot of them are very like they're like powerful people, like in government. I mean, like the observation, the passion, the drive, the change, the transformation that takes place in these people who, it's very interesting. It's like pretty direct. And so in that sense, there is a connection between people, trauma, these types of like experiences and the ability to kind of manifest things that shouldn't be there. For instance, the blister thing, like hypnotizing people and telling them you're going to touch them with a hot poker, you touch them with a pencil. And a lot of people develop blisters. And the ones that do, they found like had experienced some type of childhood trauma. So there was a development of mind over matter, and the minds that can do more mind over matter tend to have a connection, and that connection is trauma. And then witnesses seem to have a connection, and that connection sometimes is trauma. So I'm just saying some stuff is worthy to look into, but I have no answers. It's just one thing I'm looking into now.
So real quick too. Hold on a second, real quick. Just to give, if you're skeptical of what Sam and I just said, there's actual credible science into this. Like this guy Donald Hoffman wrote this book called The Case Against Reality, and we've developed these senses to survive in this world, in pattern recognition and pareidolia built into us to survive. Not to say that what we're looking at is not real, but there's things beyond that we can't even fathom because we have built-in pattern recognition to see what we need to see. So I would just point that out.
Yeah, one of the most impressive things what Bass did, which KLS had the article a few years ago. I'll just read quickly from it. It said, this novel approach aimed to circumvent the increasing evidence of deception and subterfuge by the UFO phenomenon, in that multiple witnesses co-located in the same vicinity frequently reported seeing widely different events. The evidence was capable of manipulating and distorting human perception, and therefore eyewitness testimony of UFO activity was becoming increasingly untrustworthy. The Bass approach was to view the human body as the readout system for UFO effects by utilizing forensic technology, the tools of immunology, cell biology, genomics, and neuroanatomy for in-depth study of the effects of UFOs on humans. So basically, one person sees it, one person doesn't, but the person who doesn't see it, they also have an effect on their body. So something happened, something was there, which we need to do more studies of. Of course, Bass ran out of money. That's the way they need to do it, because if they can affect perception, you need to figure out other ways to see if there's something really there.
Okay, so if you get it on camera, what do you say about that?
What do you mean?
If you get it on camera, like if you get a UFO on camera and it's original footage, what do you say about that?
That means that we captured something on camera. It's just like the Jacques Vallée case, where Chupacabra made a great video where Gary Nolan talks about his favorite case, where the girls were shooting a picture of a craft. They saw a craft, but the picture was of a star-like object. So whatever that was, if you believe that, they were able, little girls, see a craft, but it wasn't a craft. It was a star-like object.
Camera.
What?
We actually talked about that on the show tonight.
Yeah,
oh my God. Are y'all all working together? Like, what's going on here?
Real quick, Taylor.
CIA.
Hold on, Mike.
There were 3 people in the car, and they were all pushed to see a craft that was about 30 meters across, when it was actually only 2 to 3 meters across.
Are y'all denying that UFOs exist?
No,
nobody's to our CIA.
No, they existed. It was just projecting a different appearance of it than it actually was. It was mass
stuff we get on
controlling.
camera, not personal not personal, encounters. I'm talking about on camera, on footage. What are y'all talking about?
So hold on. I know what she's saying. She's saying, so we're talking about, because we can't see things and whatever. She's saying, so what if we actually do catch one on camera? I think that was her point. And I will just answer, then that means that there's probably multiple things going on. Because if that's true, then the other shit could for sure as well be true as well.
Okay, we got to move on to hands. Kyle's had his up for a minute. 1 second, Kyle, before you go, I'll also say this, Taylor. If they can mess with your perception and they're that far advanced, there's no doubt in my mind they can project something to a camera that it wants to show up, right? So go ahead, Kyle, real quick.
All right. This is a hypothetical and kind of an opinion. Now, this is something that I've been kind of researching along the way. I know about woo and reality and a lot of things that's going on. Okay, when 1947 happened and there was the Roswell crash, that was woo. But during that time, when that happened, there was a lot of UFO activity. So the awareness of people went up when they said a Roswell crash, and then there was UFO sightings. Later on was Betty Barty Hill, but that was local. It didn't go out everywhere. And then it didn't go out statewide or countrywide. That was local. But here we are in 2017, the Pentagon releases these UFO videos. Now more people are aware, and the UFOs are making themselves more present. Okay, this is kind of like a woo to me, because when people are more aware of this phenomena, the more it shows itself. So if we're going to walk on this path together, and we do disclosure wide, we have to accept the fact that when everybody's aware, they're going to come here. And how are they going to change our world? Are they going to destroy it, or are they going to build a bridge? Now, the people that's holding back and not wanting to disclose this stuff, they might be afraid that when people are aware, our planet will be destroyed. So this is like a lot of woo, is when people are aware of it, what is going to happen? And that's all I'm going to say. Right? I say, do I escape? Old Vet, Chase, Logan, and where is the
Toby? It's Roswell incident.
Wait, no, Lacey, you're awesome. JH, dude, you guys rock. I gotta get the hay and hit the bed, but that's something to think about. And
Hey,
thank you
you,
guys.
Kyle.
I'm gonna take out.
You have a good night.
Yep.
Peace, Kyle.
But real quick before you take
That's
over,
cool. I
real quick,
won't
Jake.
take offense to the pieces. You know.
Real quick, guys. Joe had to go. He had an appointment with the CIA in the morning. He'll be back. He'll visit us later. He said he'll let us know about some of those drops he's getting from the CIA. So, Chase, take over from.
I think it was Taylor next.
Does the CIA have the authority to classify public books?
We'll get
You were
in a
not.
second.
You were not
Logan.
Taylor, Logan.
We cannot
Sorry,
deny the
Taylor.
CIA exists and that they're not playing any role in this.
I don't think any of us here said that.
Whoever has the authority to classify it with the clearance, they can classify it how they choose, and then they can declassify it. It was in the Amity book was in a declassification and CIA reading room where they released they declassified a lot of documents that they were holding. So I don't know how they
documents like books. Like, could they classify Noah's Ark if they wanted to, or like the Bible? Could it be like, we're classifying this, we're taking it all out of public, sectors or whatever? Could they do that?
Yes,
definitely.
Okay.
I have no idea. Don't.
We've got
take those.
25% of the
They do
world's
that with
lawyers.
patents too. Like if a typical inventor, like a normal everyday guy, invents something really cool and they file a patent, it gets taken like instantly.
Yeah, it just depends on how much power they've got to fight it. If they don't, like the guy Chan Thomas, and they had leverage on him, they could classify it, and then he didn't have the wherewithal to be able to fight in court to get declassified for whatever reason. Then they can do that. Is it
It's
legal
called the
or
Invention
ethical?
Secrecy
I don't
Act.
know, but they've done a lot of things that are unethical and illegal, from time to time.
Well, like my
running a
satellite
75-year
jumper.
psyop.
I invented satellite jumpers. They jump from one satellite to another, and they take all the information that's coming to the satellite, and they destroy the satellite when they're done. That patent was never able to be finished.
Oh, shucks.
So Lucius is CIA.
No, I'm private inventor, Lucius Labs.
It sounds like some fucking like Lex Luthor shit. That sounds like Luthor Labs. Are you Lex Luthor?
I build skateboards that have storage. That's it. Don't look at me. I don't know anything.
Yeah,
For
none of us are
kryptonite?
buying that now.
He tried to assassinate Superman with a skateboard. We are on to you.
Dude, he created kryptonite in that fucking lab, bro.
Hey, Dan, you're next, and we'll get to Dale. Since Chase is
Yeah.
failing.
So
Wait. I skipped my turn. Dale was next, and then it was me.
Are we gonna
I
tell the
think you
truth?
just used it with some CIA accusations.
Yeah.
I think that's
Absolutely.
how you used
Are we
it.
telling the truth here?
Absolutely.
Taylor, go ahead. Then Dan.
Okay.
Then Dale. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yes.
Right,
So
Honor.
what Lucius was describing was the Invention Secrecy Act of 1951. And yeah, they'll take your shit. And it's not the CIA, it's the Department of Homeland Security by way of the Department of Energy right now. That's what's currently happening. I think there's just over 1,200 patents that are held by them. So yeah, you file a patent doing something cool, they'll just take your shit.
Not inventing anything then at that point.
Just keep it less cool than you would
keep it
normally
less
want
cool, Chase. Keep it less cool, bud.
No, I already got
Keep the
plans for
patent,
space
like-
lasers.
No, if you got space lasers, you're done. You're dead. You're gonna
can't put
commit
those
suicide
words
by
together.
2 shots to the head.
Yeah, you can't put those
2
words
shots to
together
the
on
head and
paper.
hanging. That's your. Okay, so
Sorry, I distracted.
Yeah, you distracted me. So talking about video, there's this interesting phenomena called aliasing. Somebody brought up how something was caught on video with these people caught a UFO on video, and then it showed up like a star. In digital signal processing, there's this phenomena called aliasing. You can look it up, like alias, like making up a fake name. there's this thing called aliasing, and it has to do with your sample rate. If your sample rate touches certain what's called harmonics, it will create a phenomena in video. And this shows up if you've ever seen a video of a helicopter that looks like their blades aren't moving on video. Have you ever seen a video of a helicopter where it looks like their blades aren't moving?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's called aliasing, right? That means that the signal processing and the sample rate is touching exactly such that the blades are in the same position the entire time. And what I will tell you is that
Of the
phenomena
refresh rate of the mind.
that phenomena can create all kinds of things like flip book style like presence. Like if you were to like do a little flip book like back in the day when you were a child, and you could make your like a little cartoon or something like move. That's
But there's still a book
can,
there or a helicopter there.
There's still a book there.
So what's that?
But there's still
That's
what
not
you're
called
holding is a book.
It's not called aliasing.
Yeah,
I just want to be clear.
Aliasing,
and aliasing is totally different. Aliasing has to do like the lines of the camera and like different like things like that. Like you're just speaking to like if the frame rate is the frame rate of the video matches
your frame rate or your sample rate. Yeah.
If the frame rate of the video, if you're collecting 24 frames a second, for instance, and the blades are spinning at any multiple of that, a natural multiple of that, rotations per second or whatever, then it's gonna just look like it's holding still. It's not gonna look like it's
Sam,
moving
here's the thing, Sam. It won't just make things hold still or go away. It could possibly create a star or a very weird effect. So if you were filming like a UFO and it was doing something very weird in the sky, and the frame rate was such that it hit a resonant
That's a really
frequency.
good point.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Blew my mind, dude.
Well,
you have to factor in the refresh rate of the brain, though.
Yeah,
well, there's a really good
It's like
example of this. That's better
1/20,000th
than
of a second.
Can you dumb it down for the less smart people?
There's a better example of this than helicopter, and it's if you put a speaker, let's say you got a big ass speaker, you put a hose over it, you let the hose run like kind of like around the speaker anywhere near it, and you blast that shit at a certain frequency. If that frequency again is at a multiple of 24, and that's what your camera's shooting at, or if you're shooting at 60 frames a second and the frequency is 60 hertz, whatever, right? Then you're gonna get basically what will look like the water is a standing wave. It'll look like an actual frozen, like a wave, like a tube, like the hose. But really, in all actuality, that's how it looks through the camera, because the camera is capturing images at a certain frequency, and that frequency matched by the sound frequency of the vibration. So the hose is in reality like really waving back and forth very fast. And if you were looking at it, it would just like look like this hose is going bananas, right? And with water spraying everywhere. But through the camera, if it's shot at a multiple of the frame rate, right, the amount of video, the amount of images it captures per second is the same as the amount of waves per second, then what you'll see through the camera is a standing tube of water that looks like it's just a real wave, like up and down motion, and it looks trippy, like super trippy. So there's videos of this all over. Definitely check it out. But
yeah,
to Dan's point,
I'm cutting everyone off, I guess. I just shared a video actually that Chase shared with me a few days ago, and it shows acoustically levitating water under different vibrations and showing the different modes and different shapes that droplet of water makes. And it shows the tri shape, the quad shape.
Isn't that harmonic resonance?
Totally, and it's in the Nest right now. It's the top one. It's a really, really cool video. Chase, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I totally forgot I sent that to you.
Yeah, totally. It was a really cool video.
Yeah,
it relates 100% to what you guys are talking about right now.
Harmonic resonance doesn't just happen with sound, guys. Like
cymatics.
It happens with any particular time when you're in like a sampling situation, and there's two things that could be happening if you film something and it showed itself to be like a star or something like what would come up on a sound plate. You have deconstructive and constructive wave interaction, and you have a sample rate that could be on one of the harmonics. Any of those things could be happening, and I'm not bullshitting. I'm not bullshitting. Any of those things could be happening, and you could find yourself in a situation where you're like, holy shit, I see a elephant in the sky. You fucking put your camera up. That's why I was responded and said, no, cameras are not it all the time, because they all have a sample rate, especially if it's on video. And you might find yourself in a situation where you film something and it doesn't look anything like.
I mean, what are y'all trying to say here?
I just said it.
Okay, but at the same time, there's still a helicopter that in this case.
But the helicopter's blades are standing still. How is it in the sky?
Okay, so are you saying that they're like? So then you're agreeing that there's something, right?
Okay, real quick, Taylor. Here's what
I was next anyway, but okay.
No, Taylor. Actually, you were not next. You put your hand back up. We haven't got over to Dale and JH. They've had their hand up for an hour and a half, which I'm trying to get
No,
over
I never got to go even from earlier.
Well, you made a comment about the CIA.
No, I did not make a comment about the CIA.
Okay, can we let Dale
go?
Hold
on. Before Dale goes, Rob, I know you had something to say. Then we're going to move on to Dale. Then we're going to move to JH. Then we'll get to Taylor.
My God, I'm pushed to the back of the line now. I never even got to go.
That's why you don't talk about the CIA, Taylor.
I never did. Not tonight.
Go ahead, Rob. Did you have something you want to say? I know you kept getting step on.
No, I'm good. Let me go.
Go ahead, Dale.
Hey, everyone. I might try my best to tie together some threads. I stuck my hand up when Sam was talking about, is there a way that the phenomena manifests through a human? So I might just dip back into a little bit of history and a little bit of, parallel research on this topic. The first one I'll touch on is the Monroe Institute. When they were the early guides, which were declassified by the CIA, they were for the military that they were using. So I've read through those. They're fascinating. But one of the things it says is that Gateway is completely safe, according to the Monroe Institute anyway. But the warning that it comes with is once you open the gateway, you can't close it. Now, which means that you start perceiving the phenomena, but it's a two-way mirror. The phenomena then starts perceiving you. Perhaps we're all caught in by our own visions, our own narrative, our own language framework, which tunes out everything. I think someone was talking about someone's research on that before, that we tune things out. Magicians in the old days, the esoteric magicians of the Western mystery schools, they used to say that once you begin blazing on the astral plane, they would call it, then the beings of the astral plane notice you before you were invisible to them, and then they notice you. So I think there's a great deal to be said about that. Of course, with the Copenhagen interpretation on quantum physics, something doesn't actually solidify into reality until it's observed, the role of the observer in manifesting reality. And I think we're onto something very, very, very important here, that the woo and the nuts and bolts becomes bridged really quickly when you start looking at it all from that meeting point where consciousness interacts with the phenomena, then the phenomena begins interacting with the consciousness. I mean, you just look at people like Bledsoe. One thread I might add to that is the agencies apparently have always had a word for people like Chris Bledsoe and Robert Bingham, and historically there was another guy, what was his name, Ted Owen, the PK man in the 60s or 70s, who was studied a lot. And they called them antennas. They would call these people antennas because they attract the phenomena so much. So I think I think that line of discussion, we could talk about that for weeks, but it's a very important thread not to lose. There doesn't have to be woo versus nuts and bolts. There doesn't have to be, well, I don't believe in woo, and I do, and it does not have to be that way. One absolutely does not exclude the other, in my opinion. Who am I? Just one guy with an opinion. But it's a very important thread, so I'm just hoping I could tie those together a bit.
Thank you for that, Dale. JH, then we'll get to Taylor.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay, cool. I am outside in Alaska, and I'm sorry there's a generator running. So I'm looking up at the sky, and I noticed, I was listening to everybody, and I was like thinking about where I saw those other lights that looked like stars but bigger and brighter and unwavering and closer. And they moved south that way. And I was looking over here and I saw this what I thought was a satellite coming this way, and I was like, well, that's moving kind of slow. And then I looked back over to follow it, and then it stopped, and then it went. Now it's going back and forth this way a little bit, and then that way a little bit, and then like I've people on a podcast on a live space on Twitter. Okay, and and I see who I was talking to. And so I've seen a couple of things. Okay, so I've seen a couple of things because I've been waiting patiently, and I'm like, I would lay down to make sure like I'm not moving somehow to, and I've looked at other stars because it's like that one. Okay, I can see the Big Dipper here, and then there is that one that kind of looks like a W, and I can't remember what it's called. And so anyway.
Cassiopeia?
I can't remember what it's called. I'm sorry.
Wendy's.
So I've seen a couple of other things that seem like satellites, but they were went that way and then they disappeared. And then I saw two of those, and then I saw a white bird flying a little ways up there, and I was like, I don't know if that was an owl. I think so. It didn't sound like a drone. It should have been able to. It looked a little too big to be a drone, like too wide and fat, whatever.
You said you're in Alaska?
Yes.
Oh, then it's definitely aliens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a weird thing that I saw in the video talking about star-like things that were, doing stuff and
just a figment of your imagination.
JH, can I ask you, the white bird, did you see any? I've seen it. If it's the same thing, I've seen it twice. Did it have, was it pure white? When I've seen it, it tends to hover. It doesn't beat its wings. It's huge. Did you notice any coloration? Like, I can't see a beak or feet or anything on this thing. Are we talking about the same object?
I didn't see a beak or feet. No, it looked like it was easily, I don't know, maybe say right there to right there is 95 feet. I've measured it myself. So let me see. Yeah, easily 100 to 200 feet up there, maybe. Like I was staring at that star, and then I see something, moving across my field of vision, and I was like, hey. I was like, is that a drone or is that and then I realized maybe it's a bird. But it was
the last time I filmed that, it came out as a blob of energy. I filmed it, and to the eye, it was a bird, and then it was a blob of energy. Anyway, I'm so glad someone else has seen it.
He just flew over, like just from goodness. It's like I don't remember. That's I think north. I think that's north. My compass is wrong in my phone. Like stuff doesn't always work right. And then I realized that the other day because I spoke about it on first on Rob Heatherly and Shannon Scott's YouTube show in the live chat. But when I saw those lights, because that's what I was just thinking about, right? Before I raised my hand and then somebody said something that I felt like talking about. And I was looking up here and I'm like, there, hold on, and it's like a couple of inches, a few, like 3.5 inches or so from your thumb to your finger, and you stick your arm out and then you look up there, and it was like the lights were those that far away from each other, and they were almost like, I don't know, that's not very many degrees, not straight up, but over that way a little bit, south a little bit, and I noticed, I was like, those weren't there before, those stars weren't there before, and I looked over this way, and then I noticed they had gone, they were moving southeast towards that road over there, and so weird that I was seeing that, and then I see this other weird stuff, like there's stuff in the sky, people just check it out. Look up. Okay, thanks for letting me share.
I'm glad you're here, Jade. Thank you. Taylor, go ahead.
Thank you too.
Okay, so what do y'all think? And I guess I don't have like a statement to make, more so like just a dialogue I want to have with some of these ideas being thrown out. So today it seems like y'all are on some type of like these aren't real, it's of your imagination type of thing. And
no,
like,
that's just Mike.
That's just Mike? Well, I thought it was Tube, and I thought it was
Okay, yeah, I guess Tube.
Dale and maybe Whoosh? No, I don't think it was Whoosh. Maybe it was
Well,
it was like four of you guys.
I've been saying that since day one, so I don't really.
Okay, well, yeah,
I don't,
I've been saying that. Now you've debriefed.
But you're CIA saying.
Yeah, somebody got a
Everything is our
debriefing.
imagination.
Man's got to eat.
Yeah, well, then it was Whoosh. Okay,
No.
Debriefing go down
I
today.
didn't say anything.
Lush didn't say that. Yeah.
No, it was not you, Whoosh. I apologize. Okay, I apologize. Anyway, so what do y'all think about? What do y'all think about? So, in this sense, I'm assuming y'all don't think that there's any crash recovery stuff. And what do y'all think about the Calvine UFO photo?
Well, I know.
Okay, I think that the crash recoveries we do have. I also think the Calvine's legit. There's too much. Now, maybe it's a top secret program of ours that we're not, but we didn't have anything that could hover and shoot straight up in the air. And you got to take the witness accounts, the location, all these other things in. Now, what they were trying to say earlier, Taylor, and I kind of agree with, it can be nuts and bolts and woo. We just don't have the science or the tech to see what the woo is. So what we may be considering woo, for example, like their ability to change what's in the camera or with the way it looks externally, doesn't mean it changes internally. And it could just be a far advanced tool they have that we know nothing
Slide
about.
9.
We're calling it woo.
Who's they?
Slide 9, man.
Earlier, the conversation we were having, they weren't saying that there's no nuts and bolts. Like when you take a picture, you're not taking a picture of something. It's not real. What they're saying is it has the ability to manipulate what shows up on the film and in your eyes.
What is it? What has the ability to manipulate?
The phenomenon.
Whatever you want to call it.
It's at
What do you think is here, Taylor? Let me ask you. What do you think is here? Do you think it's one entity? Do you think it's multiple? Let me ask you that before I answer.
I think that they're actual entities other than humans, but who knows? It could just be the government. I've talked about Project Bluebeam multiple times. Okay, and that's the government projecting things into the sky. But if not that, because y'all have already shut that theory down. Then
no, Chupa, I won't kick her out of the thing right now. Jeez, just hot mic. Sorry.
So let me ask you, what do you think about the Calvine photo?
Oh, so yeah, I think that it's a most likely a legitimate photograph.
And what is that? You think that was a camera error?
Are you asking is it non-human or is it human?
I think it looks oddly like a platonic solid. So I think it could be an interdimensional object making its way through our space, or it could be a experimental military craft. It could be a straight up alien craft. But to me, it looks very similar to just a regular old geometric shape. And to me, that opens the door for the interdimensional nature of something, or all kinds of stuff.
I personally have seen it. Well, okay, so I will say I've seen videos that look very similar to the Calvine that are like, it makes me, well, it's like a different angle. It's not as close, obviously, but it looks very similar.
Where have you seen the videos, though?
I've seen them on Twitter. The internet. I can't.
Okay, let's stop here.
But it was interesting. So I tend to think it's non-human intelligence.
What do you think about what looks like a possible fin or propeller on the back of the Calvine photo?
That could be interesting, yeah. But honestly, I have no idea. What do you think, Toby?
Idea. I just know Nick Pope told me that it was the craziest photo he had ever seen.
There was an artifact on the tail end of that craft in Canada.
I'll tell you this. You got to take the whole story. So first, the two witnesses, they both saw it. It was hovering. The aircraft, there was actually supposed to be, I think, 3 aircraft that were kind of tailing it. It hovered, and then it shot directly up. So you have to take all of that into account. Taylor, I'll say I do believe NHI is here. It's not just in our conscious. There may be something playing onto that, but that could be a whole thing of the whole. I know they're talking, what is the hitchhiker effect? What if that it's possibly a disease. You really do get it. Now you start seeing these things and interacting. I know that's something that's being discussed currently. Logan, go ahead, buddy.
So yeah, I say fuck the police.
No,
Like,
man. They're cool.
hey, can you mute him, please? That's uncalled for. So, like Joe was saying earlier, like guys have like come out and like spoken out about like shit they weren't supposed to be talking about before, right? And they got away with fucking no problem, right? So I said to just keep doing that, just keep talking shit, and be like, come at me, bro. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do about it? Like, come at me. And like, I think we as a can you mute Chase, please, or just get rid of him permanently, please? That'd be great. So yeah, I mean, just, what are they gonna do? Like, as a community, we can be like, we get to decide, right? Like, what is like crossing the line? If they want to like blow a whistle, I'm sure like who's ever like wanting them not to do that's gonna be like, what the fuck? But we as a community can be like, no, that's cool. And if you want to like go ahead and try them, we're not gonna like let you do that because we're the ones that make the decisions anyway, right? We're the ones with the power. I don't know why we're like still like looking to politicians for answers. We should be looking to each other. So, yeah. Anyway,
Are you still beefing with Kent, or did you squash that beef, Logan?
Yeah, let's just move past that.
Like, what's up? What's up, mind control?
What's up, Taylor?
Well,
all right, guys.
You
guys getting a little cray up here. I don't want any fights in here. I know Taylor's
Maybe it was that CIA
back.
tweet that you did earlier. That's why they're mad.
So, hey, here's a quick question for you, Logan.
What did I do?
Mike,
everything.
Calm down.
Stop.
Jesus. All right, guys. Logan.
Bro, you sound evil for real.
Wait, the mute button was on. How was Taylor able
Thank
to
God
speak?
this is recorded.
Hey,
I'm going to enjoy this later.
Mike, seriously, Chase, Mike, you guys are getting bad about interrupting people. So let's calm that shit down a little bit.
Dude, I've
Logan.
said one word in like 20 minutes.
I will take any bullet for like any whistleblower that like wants to like put his life on the line and like come forward. I will guard you, bro. For
Hold
real.
on, Logan. This is the point I was trying to get to. Yes, that sounds about ideal, right? But it's not the case. You can look at whistleblowers all day long and get their ass hemmed up and thrown in the jail for less. It's not necessarily Congress should be the ones to be able to step in and they know, but it's not necessarily the case. That's why a lot of people are sketched out right now. There's a lot of people with things they want to say, but that's also why you have to kind of listen to things they can't. Like when Lou Elizondo's, there's certain things he can't talk to. You want to listen to that. So that's where we're at right now. Whistleblowers are important, but yeah, you better believe if they think it hurts them or will help them, they'll block their asses up. Who was next? Was it Lacey? You go ahead. You haven't talked. And
I guess Lacey can go. That's cool. I guess,
I didn't see it.
I agree with Logan that I don't think it's going to be the government. I think it's going to be us running around taking videos and shit that's going to get the most, and possibly, some of the people like Lou and them maybe sneaking information to some little people like us. And I had something else to say, but I forgot. Oh, Logan, check your messages. And can I post a video in the corner pocket of a video of UFO?
You can be on here, Lacey. You know you're always welcome. You do right.
Thank you.
Lexi, you got something? Thank you, Lacey.
Yeah, right on. So I have two things written down. I guess for that first comment that Logan made about like being a bodyguard and taking bullets and all that stuff, that's highly noble, right? But I just want to say like Havana syndrome is a real thing, and I think that's what they're mostly using at this point is directed radiation weapon tech. But second note I wanted to say is that the Calvine photo is fake, Chase. No, actually, what I was thinking is that totally joking. What I was going to say for the Calvine, I think it, as far as man-made, the potentiality is that it could be an electrogravitic blimp. that was about the time that electrogravitics was gaining a lot of attention, and it does have that fan on the back, and it is somewhat blimp and plutonic shaped, solid shaped. It might be ET, but it also might be man-made electrogravitic blimp. I'll just leave it at that.
Before we
What
Taylor,
narrative are they pushing?
well, before I get to Taylor, are you so hung up on everybody being CIA?
No, I had nothing to do about the CIA.
Yeah, you said what narrative are you pushing? Who's trying to push
No, I didn't.
CIA?
No, I did not say that. I said, so then what narrative are they pushing if it would be man-made? And they'd be putting it out there like it was.
That's
It would be the
absolutely
fake
absolutely
UFO
not
invasion
what
that Von
she
Braun
meant.
talked about. Sorry, Tupac, go ahead. Sorry, my bad.
Oh, no worries. I was
the
just
CIA would waste their time in Twitter Spaces. Really,
listen. They are here, alive and well. But yeah, I don't think that going back and forth on who's pushing the narrative and who's CIA is really helpful here. It's definitely slowing my job, and my bosses will not get off my back about it. So if we can just, minimize it.
I did not refer to anybody in the space as CIA. I said
hold on.
Calvine photo. Mike, my God.
Hold on, Taylor. I have a
No,
question
you hold
for you.
on. I was talking.
Listen, Taylor, I'm
No,
interrupting you. Hold
Mike,
on.
Mike, no, hold on. Mike, let her talk. She's been stepped on 1,000 times. Then
All right, I'm muting everybody, and I'm saying this shit. Taylor, let me ask you a question. Does it not make sense to you that there should be those people in place, at least or interacting, to make sure there's not complete fucking nutcases out there, like, doing crazy shit that, like, don't you want to feel protected in some ways, or do you just feel like, we don't need that at all? Like, I guess that's my question.
And I'll answer that. Mike is CIA. If you guys haven't figured that out, he is. Get down in that thread, retweet it real quick. That's the only way we can get rid of this CIA guy, right? Taylor, don't listen to him. Now you go ahead and speak right now. It's your turn. Don't step on her, people. No more CIA talk, guys. Let's get to the bottom of some UFO shit.
Yeah, it's been more like 100,000 times. But anyway, I was not actually calling anybody CIA in here, but pretty guilty the fact that you're gonna like freak out like that. Whatever. Guilty. Anyway, I was saying the Calvine photo, if it was a man-made craft, then if it was man-made and they're putting it out as ETs, then what narrative is that pushing? I wasn't talking about anybody in here. I'm talking about the people who released the photo.
That's exactly what I was raising my hand to, if I may. And that would be, I believe it was Werner von Braun. Like, literally, we all think we know who he is. He's the guy that was captured during World War II. He was a Nazi scientist. He's the head of the Rocket Foundation. Apparently, when he was on his deathbed, he literally said to like this lady to him, and I don't know the validity, but this is the story I've heard. He said the last card they will play is the fake alien invasion card in order to create a one world government. So if anyone else wants to speak on that, that might help Taylor there. I don't know though.
Well, real quick, Taylor, I'll tell you this much: if the question you were asking, what narrative does that push? Well, it could have been that technically, let's say, our Aurora, and they want to keep that fact that it's our craft hidden, so you say it's ET, right? That's the way you keep some of our stuff hidden. That's what they currently, you can use it both ways. But one thing we're discounting about the blimp thing you were talking about is, and the witnesses said it shot straight up faster than they've ever seen anything move before, right? So we got to take all of it into account. I'm not saying one way or the other, but I know we got to move around. We got some other hands. Taylor, did you have anything else? I don't want you yelling at me.
I never yell at you.
No, Taylor, look what you did. You triggered David and Sky. He's talking all kinds of shit now. Oh, man. He literally thinks we're all CIA agents. I think you should put out like a disclaimer you're kidding. UAP Live? That's not good. Come on, David. You're not serious, are you, dude?
Hey, Logan, I need you to quiet. I know that's what the CIA does. It talks like that. We'll get Dan going.
Dude, everybody's polluted the water so much that if there was actually, there would be no way to figure it out now because everybody's accused each other of being the CIA.
Dan, go ahead.
All I can say is those guys are cool, but they're spooks, man. You'd be able to tell. They're so spooky. Like, you would know. It's like, that guy is freaking CIA.
Kind of like mind control.
Yeah, they're weird people.
All right, guys.
Dude, you got that right, Taylor. I'm mind control Mike tonight. You better believe that.
Well, Logan,
Just real
what
quick,
do you
I
mean?
just shared a video. It's
Best
anti-gravity
believe.
lifter technology, and that stuff shoots up.
Using that button, but not in here. I ain't doing this where I'm listening to everybody yelling and hooting and hollering. Especially
I
you,
haven't
Mike.
pressed that button
Chase,
once.
Chase.
Hold on,
I
I'm
don't
going
want
to
to hear from
defend
you.
Shane. I got to defend Shane here. This does actually throw Shane through a little bit of a tizzy. All this talking over, and it triggers him a little bit. I'm being for real. I'm not. This
You said
isn't funny.
taint.
No. I did say taint by accident, so that was funny. But I was being real for the rest of it. So please do not talk over each other. Start raising your hand and show Shane a little respect, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mike. And I'll kind of look on that PTSD when everybody's just kind of going. I can't pick out what's being said, and it just throws me in a loop. And then all I want to do is smack Mike around. So we'll get to Dan.
This is probably the least technical thing I'm going to say here, but I'm going to say it because I've seen it. I've noticed a trend. If any of you know what COINTELPRO is, does anybody know what COINTELPRO is?
Are you a targeted individual?
Do you know what COINTELPRO is, Logan?
Everyone in the agency knows what it is, bro.
Oh, yeah. So what COINTEL did was they had really important meetings in the 60s and the 70s. And one of the things that they employed, and it ended up getting Fred Hampton killed, who was a black hero of mine, was they would go into meetings and then they would just accuse everybody of being a fucking Fed. And it was pretty effective. And I just want to say that. Fred Hampton is a hero of mine. And the Panthers were pretty fucking cool when they were giving out free breakfasts. Until a couple fucking Feds went into all of their meetings and then just accused everybody of being a Fed, subverted a bunch of conversation, and just, ruined the meetings. And I'm just going to leave that out there. COINTELPRO. Thank you, J. Edgar Hoover.
Are you saying I'm COINTELPRO? What is that?
I'm not saying anything.
Is that FBI?
I am not saying anything. I'll leave that there on the table. Leaving that one right on the table.
COINTELPRO is not all about accusing people. That's not what it was all about.
I know what it was about, bro. I know exactly what it was about. But
it was a little bit more elaborate, though, than just accusing
I'm leaving it.
people.
I had 3 or 4 sentences to make my point, but I'm a whole ass black man. I know exactly what COINTELPRO is.
To Dan's offense, he did say it was like what was the first thing you started out with? It was like the least categorical thing you said, something like that. So I don't know.
I think everybody heard what I said.
We did.
I think everybody heard what I said, and I'm going to leave that one on the table.
That was
Dan,
FBI infiltrating CIA, right? No, I'll say fuck the FBI.
I think he's leaving it on the table. Let's move around to Jade and then Lucius. I think it was Jade.
I'm not prepared. Skip me. Thank you.
So I wasn't going to say this at first, but I'm just going to kind of let segue in, I believe is the term the humans use. So basically, I think what he was implying is that the person that brings up the idea of accusing everyone as CIA is it's like whoever smelt it dealt it. But the second point that I was going to make is that I just shared an electrogravitic lifter in the chat in the bottom right. And basically it shows how fast these things jump up. They jump up fast. Like these electrogravitic lifters will jump up really fast. And so when it comes to man-made tech, we have electrogravitics, and we've had it since 1908. That's all I'm saying. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Just like man was leaving his thing, But like, I'm not saying the Calvine is not man-made. I'm saying that we have similar tech.
Okay, thank you, Lucius. You were saying that Calvine was a fake photo. We hear you. I don't agree
totally
with you.
Just my videos on that. Yeah, Chase doesn't know what he's talking about. Yeah.
But let's keep it moving here. Anybody else have their hand up? So much to say 5 minutes ago.
How do we put our hand up, by the way? I don't know how to do that. I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't know how to put my hand up to get.
Hey, Rob, hit
I'd like to
heart.
call on
Do you
Rob
see the
Heatherly.
heart?
Can you come to the table, please?
All you have to do
Mike's
next
not
time,
working.
Rob,
Next
if you
time.
hit the heart and look at the emoji all the way to the right.
Okay.
You see the emoji? If you hit the heart in the bottom right next to the little purple deal.
Okay. Yeah, I see it. All right.
Go all the way to the right, and then you're going to see a hand that's separated by a line.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, I'm tracking.
Hit that thing, and
all right. Thank you.
No problem.
Just for people in the room, I got to say this. Chase knows what he's talking about. I was just making a funny reference. Mine knows what's going on, but other people might not. Chase thinks the Calvine photo is real.
I don't want your explanations, Lucius. It stands.
I'm just trying to let people know what's going on. It's a joke. It's an inside joke. We're good.
Where'd Chase go? Is everybody getting booted? Because I just got booted.
I just kicked Chase out. I said, enough of this guy.
Yeah, the spaces were acting a little wanky. I couldn't hear Rob, and then I got booted. So.
Did we lose everyone?
No, you enticed me to click on the YouTube video, and then I couldn't hear anyone. And I was like, wait, I can't watch this YouTube video right now. I was supposed to be co-hosting.
Chase, I was like half apologizing to you. So you like didn't hear any of me being like we were just messing. Like I know you know your stuff in that the Calvine photo.
Dude, you're too nice, Lucius. Quit explaining it away.
Yeah, I honestly didn't hear any of that.
Well, that was for Chase. That was literally only for Chase, but also for everyone else in the room.
Hey, it is recorded though, so I'll go back and listen.
Chase is like a mushroom, bro. You feed him shit and keep him in the dark. Okay, that's all.
Hey, and I grow into a beautiful, wonderful thing.
Yep, and you're psychedelic as well.
Thanks, Jade.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was just gonna say, was it Jacques Vallée that was talking recently about there's a fourth intelligence agency. We've got the DOE, the DOD, the CIA, and he said that they found that there's another group that is above those or aside from that is holding a lot of the UFO, UAP,
Men in Black
retrievals. Well, there's something above them because part of the Men in Black are OSI, part of those are DOE. We've done a lot of research on them, and I've got some witnesses that were in some crash retrieval programs, but they've just recently figured out that there's another group that is separate from those three. That aren't in the CIA, the DOD, or the DOE. They are different in another category on their own, another silo, but it's its own entity that I think Jacques Vallée was talking about recently. Because back in April, you remember when Lou was talking about that he was trying to be their friend and was trying to help them, and Burchett said that he was told he had to back off a little bit. There was something that they ran into that they didn't know existed that was an extreme pushback from that within the military-industrial complex somewhere. It may have been attached to these aerospace industries in tandem with some of these dark silos, but they didn't ever name it. Jacques Vallée in an interview didn't mention that they founded one of these legacy programs that may not be legacy. It may still be an operation that is outside of those traditional intelligence agencies that they are trying to get access into and get some of them to come forward with the immunity. So that's something I'm pursuing at the moment as well, to figure out what that is. If it's something, they're being very cautious in approaching it because there's a lot of pushback right now. The closer we get to the 2023 passing, the more dangerous it gets for certain people. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, it does, Rob.
Because I've got, I know some people, and some of the people that are wanting to testify are under extreme duress, to say the least. So there's a lot of coercion that shouldn't be taking place that is.
What if they're like temporal agents?
Weren't you referencing just a second ago too, Rob? I think it was it Jeremy that said was it the photos you were talking about? Where they said the first time he got pushed back and they weren't able to do it.
I'm not sure. The pushback I'm talking about are people within military-industrial complex, the dark silos that they're talking about, that they're trying to get to come forward, and they're kicking on the doors. One of the doors that they kicked on was an entity that was very high senior level group. That, I mean, how much higher? The DOE is bad enough, but to be above that or outside of that control, or the CIA and the DoD, that's kind of spooky, because I don't know if that would put them in line even with, Clinton did a report for 7 years, an investigation at DOE, and found that they had no oversight. They were basically rogue, and they didn't report to anybody. They did their own thing, and it took them 7 years to even get the report done by the FBI, and to start trying to bring them under control with oversight committees. And then 9/11 happened, so I need to follow through and see if they did, what kind of restraints they did put on with outside regulation on the DOE. But they were the cowboys in one of the Peru crash retrievals, where a Marine was tortured for 2 weeks because he entered the perimeter and saw things he wasn't supposed to see. So we've got that documented that we're trying to get. But that was DOE and that was OSI.
So
honestly, it's really scary.
Yeah, having a whole new freaking 3-letter team that you don't even know about, and you're gonna have to worry about it.
You got your hands up. Do you want to add to that?
Yeah, adding to it, also moving it a little bit in a different direction, I guess. The only thing I've ever heard of above DOE, I guess, would be the Majestic 12, but I don't know if that's a real thing or not. I know the DOE is. Majestic 12 is more like a myth, right? Like
the Majestic 12 were a real group, but the Majestic 12 papers weren't real.
But you get what I'm saying. And basically, the CIA was created after the Roswell incident in order to help take care of that. And so what I was going to then circle it back to, which relates to both of those things, is John Searle, his involvement with the DOE and his project called Project Lunatic, and how all of that has been super quiet since he came out. He was originally on like BBC Broadcasting Network every week, once a month, maybe. And they were like watching him build his craft. After a certain date, every single time his invention, his flying saucer, the levity disc, was mentioned in the newspapers, they called it a UFO. Like they didn't know what it was anymore. But John Searle had clearly been building these things since he was like 16 years old. And from his point of view, what he would tell you is that he had been building them since he was 16. What people will tell you today is that he is just making it all up. So that I shared an 1.5-hour long documentary made by him and Bradley Lockerman. Bradley Lockerman has a company here in Florida he opened up called Spintronics. I have literally spoken with him on the phone. We've communicated. John Searle's other Lockerman was Henderson, and he lives in Texas. And he has a company called segmagnetics.com. So the technology is there. That's the free energy technology that I was talking about earlier that relates to the whole oil thing and the reason why what's the pushback. There's a huge circle there. It's a huge thing that is probably very related. I'll just leave it at that and I'll be quiet.
Hey, you know what just happened is Russia launched a missile attack on the nuclear plant.
My heart wasn't for that.
Shane?
Thank you, Logan, for keeping us updated.
What's up, Jake?
I thought that was Shane.
I will say, Open Eyes did say September 19th.
Hey, Chase, can you hear me?
It is almost September 19th.
Sir,
or it is September 19th.
Shane,
I can hear Shane.
Hold on, guys. I don't think Chase can hear me.
Chase, shut the fuck up. Shane, I can hear you.
Okay, I really don't think Chase can hear me because he stepped on me 3 times. If he does it again, I'm going to stick my foot up his ass.
Ooh, I'd like to actually see that. Can we get hey, Tupa, let's get some sort of artistic rendering of this.
Jay, that was Logan. And we're going to be wrapping this up in about 10 minutes, guys. Just so you know, it's a school night for me. I'm only about 15. Got to get back doing my school stuff. You know how that goes. Trying to get in that CIA. So,
what if he really was 15? How fucking funny would that be?
See, I told you, they're the ones that mention CIA more than I do.
She's right. We've mentioned CIA 3,000 times. We're bitching.
No, honestly though, Taylor, nobody ever even mentioned that shit until you brought it up like a bunch of times.
Actually, you
and
know
now,
what?
Y'all bring it up way more.
And
than
now
I
I've
do.
gotten private messages of people like asking me about Freemasonry and shit. I'm like, I'm not even a fucking Mason, but somehow because
right.
I'm not. I've been
just a pyramid and eyeball. No, nothing here. Nothing
Real
to
quick,
see.
Hey,
I'm gonna send you. I'm gonna buy Taylor some books on symbolism and ancient civilizations.
Hey, real quick, I need to say
Okay.
something, okay?
All right,
so
buddy.
before we go, guys, do me a favor, like, subscribe, do all
Say,
that kind of stuff. You're
I
supposed to
promise
do
you,
on social
Mike
media.
is not.
God damn it,
Illuminati.
Chase.
I'm sure you do.
I mean, I wouldn't know.
Dude, she's
I guess.
she's fucking with you right now, Chase. She
I just kicked Chase, so he won't step on me again. I just kicked him out of the room.
Chase is like Marva from Super Troopers saying shenanigans.
Old Vet is trying to talk.
Literally, guys. Thank you for coming to my space. Thank you, Taylor. The rest of you can suck a fart. Now, I appreciate you guys being here. Like, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I don't care. Chase, I love him, but he couldn't hear me. So I'm glad you guys are here. We'll hold more of these spaces. Hey, you know what? Also, check out the Roswell Daily Record podcast. We're going to be holding the UFO Symposium. I don't know the name of the damn thing. Just check it out because we're going to be doing lots of these afterwards.
The Roswell UFO Symposium.
So here's the deal. This is the best part, guys. After the podcast, we're going to be trying to get the guests to come on here so we can do this. Have respectful conversations. You guys can ask them questions, and you guys can make fun of Chase with me. So, you know, I'm glad you guys are here. It's a lot of fun. And tonight was really cool. We had a good conversation and some laughs, and you really can't complain about that. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad everybody's here, guys. I'm so tired. I'll repeat myself 1,000 times. I'm going to bed. Love you guys. Hugs and kisses.
Shane, don't close it just yet. I just wanted to ask, man. You were talking about. I didn't know you did MMA. Where did you train? What'd you do? Was it like kickboxing or?
Well, I was a wrestler growing up, but I grew up with Matt Hughes, so I trained with him for a little bit, and then I ended up joining the military where I learned Jeet Kune Do, BJJ, and some Sambo. And then when I went to Japan, sorry, my son's sleeping. We're partying hard down here tonight.
Wait, is Matt Hughes in Mississippi?
No, Matt Hughes is from I lived in Illinois. Vandalia, Illinois is one of my wrestling coaches back in the day. But then I moved to Japan where I thought I was going to, you know what, I'll fight here all the time. It's Japan. No, it's a pain in the ass. I spent most of my time deployed in the desert anyway. So,
word up, man. Word up.
Mid answer to Lucius, you should have just left the space and ended it so he was waiting for his answer.
Yeah, you should have left him hanging.
No, I just want
to
say,
later.
Dude, Shane, next time we randomly meet up in freaking Arizona or wherever it is, we got to roll.
I'll down. I love it.
Shane, do you live in Arizona?
I don't know if you know Hops and Mora, but I trained with him. And my mom helped him buy his house when he first moved from Brazil to America. So I know a little bit of BJJ, but not Matt Hughes quality, wrestling kind of stuff. But like, still there. It's on point. That's all I'm getting at. Word up. I feel like for some reason, like we're all connected in so many ways. It's just crazy.
For real, man. Andrew, real quick, buddy, what you got? We're going to hang up, so.
Yeah, here's the thing. My advice to anybody who has a real question, just ask them. You can ask them in the space, and that way they're on record before everybody that's in that space. And if you look up and notice, okay, it's a recorded space, would anybody raise their hand? Or you could put it politely. Would anybody be willing to raise their hand and admit that you do take checks from the CIA? And you can go down the list. You can say DIA, NRO, NSA. You could say DEA. You could say Mossad. You can say KGB. You can say.
I told y'all mention it way more than I do. Guilty.
That's what I'm saying. But let me just throw it out there. You can hit them back channel too. Like people like, look, I would never admit that, right? So you can hit them back channel and see what they tell you. And if you ask them on a different day, and they tell you something different, then you can go start keeping keep your scorecard at home. Okay, I'm just kidding. No, I'm not. I'm serious. And that way, eventually, you put together your own matrix, and you're like, okay, this guy is Hollywood, this guy is podcast, this guy, it's like you just figure out what people are about. It's called situational awareness, and it won't change anywhere you go in the cosmos. Thanks for letting me know.
Don't you feel like a lot of people just kind of like randomly say things though? Like,
that's true. This is Twitter. So everyone's somebody they're not supposed to be. But let me say
Somebody's
this before I hang up. I got to hang up real quick, guys. Hey, Andrew, nope, no more talking, guys. We're getting the
Thanks,
hell out
Jay.
of here.
Thanks, Jay.
I love having you guys here, but I'm tired as hell. Let me say this. Technically, I am receiving a paycheck from the federal government. I'm not going to tell you what agency, but you guys can think about that. Have a good night, guys. Taylor, you guessed it.